Yo, it's your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, back at you with a new video. Today is Sunday, December 15th, 2024, with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can. Cash App $, ORION-NWSF, or the YouTube Super Chat right here. We got Sunday Night Football, the Green Bay Packers versus the Seattle Seahawks. Kickoff is going to be here in roughly 10 minutes. So let's cue up the music, take a look at the thumb, and we'll go over some of the scores from earlier today. Let's get it, baby. And on the thumb, on the left, we got the stud Jordan Love. And on the right, maybe one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the NFL, like Jared Goff, that doesn't really get the credit that he deserves, in Geno Smith. Can't wait to be able to see what we get here tonight on Sunday Night Football. Daniel in the building, what's good? Sarah in the building, what's good? Let's go, baby. And let's take a quick look at some of the scores, obviously, from today's action. And this was probably the highest scoring collective week that we've had all season. And obviously in the fantasy playoffs for a lot of people, some guys scored big, other guys kind of underwhelmed. We'll see kind of how it all wraps up. But it's looking like we're going to get a Zini Double E championship matchup. And anytime you leave points on the bench, and you end up making a wrong decision. We've all been there, even myself this week. And when you end up leaving too much on the bench, sometimes that can end up being a killer in fantasy. Also, if you end up having a great player that can go off against a bad defense and you can get a lot of points like Double E did with Lamar against the Giants, sometimes that can be the deciding factor, and it looks like that might have been it. But we got final score, the Buffalo Bills 48, Detroit Lions 42. This could be a Super Bowl preview matchup. We obviously know there really is only 5 teams, in my opinion, that could go all the way, right? The Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Detroit Lions. But the Lions defense, kind of like Buffalo, it's not really there. And obviously we know both of these offenses got the firepower to put on a show. Final score, Buffalo 48, Lions 42. Saquon Barkley will get the Offensive Player of the Year, but the NFL MVP is definitely Josh Allen. Kansas City Chiefs 21, Cleveland Browns 7. It's the first time that we've seen the Chiefs win the game by more than 10 points in a long, long time, a 14-point win on the road. This might be, for a team that is 13-1, right? It might be the weakest 13-1 team of all time, but at the end of the day, you got Andy Reid, you got Patrick Mahomes, who left the game late. I think he'll be okay. Travis Kelce, you got Spags, and you got Chris Jones. So when you're looking at, these players, they have the discipline, and they may not be winning by on like a sexy factor on a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 being super sexy, like when they had Tyreek, and then last year with the defense, the sexy level is at a 0 for the Chiefs this year, right? But again, a win is a win, and they're finding a way. Big win for the Chiefs, 21-7. Bengals 37, Titans 27, in a game that maybe Cincinnati should have won by more. But again, Tony Pollard will always make that team fight. Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Chase Brown. That is most likely what's going to let Zini end up winning the championship this year. Commanders 18, Saints 19. Spencer Rattler going for 2 at the end of the game. Probably should have just went for the extra point and took your chances in overtime. 2-point conversion is no good, and the Commandos win by 1 point. Ravens 35, Giants 14. Double E with the first-round pick of Lamar. It kind of shocked everyone in the league, but again, he has been playing on an MVP level for the most of the season. And when you end up playing a shitty defense, in the playoffs, that's obviously a quarterback's dream come true. 5 touchdown passes for Lamar, and that might be the difference between, you actually getting to the championship over Reflect or not. Obviously, you still got a few players to play, and we'll see how it all plays out, but it's kind of looking like we're going to get a Double E versus Zini in the championship. Cowboys 30, Panthers 14. First game that the Panthers have been favored in like 2 months, and they absolutely shit the bed. Cowboys played well on the road, 30-14 final. Jets 32, Jaguars 25, the battle of the bads. Aaron Rodgers actually looked like a decent quarterback today with Devontae Adams. They win by 7. Texans 20, Dolphins 12. Tua looking like shit, but again, the team is not complete. Texans find a way to wrap up that division. Broncos 31, Colts 13. And like I told you, Sarah, AR ain't it. You have a one good week, right? And then everyone wants to kind of hop on the bandwagon. Same thing with Joe Flacco, but again, as hard as it is to say it and stomach it, the mistake was made. And you have to be able to find another quarterback next year. Again, you can still have AR a part of the team until his rookie deal is up, but you definitely want to be able to bring in another player to kind of size up what you're going to be able to get out of him. He's really young. He's really inexperienced, and it shows on the field, and it shows you some guys, are more NFL ready, like Bo Nix, even in his rookie year, over a guy like AR. Patrick Surtain had an injury late. Hopefully it's not serious. Big win for Bo Nix and the Broncos, 31-13 Denver. Philadelphia Eagles 27, Pittsburgh Steelers 13. The Steelers haven't won in Philadelphia in a billion years, so I knew it wasn't going to happen this weekend. Russell Wilson has had a good year, but when you're going against Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and everyone else that can bring the action like Saquon Barkley, a little bit too much of Philadelphia, and that crowd went crazy. And again, don't be surprised if Philadelphia ends up being in the Super Bowl. It's either going to be them or Detroit, more than likely. You could definitely argue Philadelphia might be the best team in the NFC because their defense is healthy and their defense is actually better. Cardinals 30, Patriots 17. Kyler Murray didn't have the best game, but they had enough to be able to get the dub. My Buccaneers 40, Chargers 17. One of the best defenses in the league, had no chance against Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans. Go Bucs. We're going to win the NFC South again. We're on a nice little win streak. You can go from 3 wins, 4 wins, 5 wins. And once you end up getting 3, 4, 5 in a row, you start feeling pretty good about yourself, but you still got a long ways to go. Tampa Bay Buccaneers 40, Chargers 17. That was a little surprising to me, but shout out to Bake, LFB, let's fucking bake and let's fucking go Bucks. And then obviously we had the maybe the shit bowl with the Rams 12, Niners 6. That might have been the worst game of the regular season. And obviously it hurt a lot of people in fantasy, including myself. Cooper Kupp with a 0. How dare you? And then tomorrow we got 2 matchups. We got the Bears and the Vikings. Vikings are going to wear their icy white throwbacks, which is going to be very cool to be able to see. Alternate jersey. We'll be doing that stream tomorrow. And then we got the Falcons and the Raiders. Now, if the Falcons were going to bench Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix Jr. would get his first start, I would consider maybe doing that Falcons matchup, but it sounds like Kirk Cousins more than likely will be there. Bears, Vikings, a little bit more on the line. Definitely a trap game for Minnesota. And again, same thing ends up going for the Atlanta Falcons. It is a trap game there. We will be covering both games at the same time, even though one starts at 5 and one starts at 5:30. But we will be doing Bears and Vikings, and I would assume the Vikings will beat the brakes off of the Bears and continue their success, obviously with Sam Darnold, Jay Jetta, Jordan Addison, and guys like Andrew Van Ginkel on defense. Let's go, baby. Let's get it. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Let's try to shoot for 20 within the first hour and a half, 30 to 50 overall if we get a little bit of volume, and obviously 100 in the donos on every single stream. And again, you never know when you're going to end up getting these really spike weeks in not only the NFL, but also in fantasy. I'm pretty sure, and someone may have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure this is the highest scoring week collectively out of every single matchup combined point-wise that we've had all year. And obviously some teams shit the bed, other teams came to play. And again, I feel tough, emotions there, for Reflect, to be able to dominate the whole league, get the 1 seed, only lose 1 matchup all season, go 13-1. But again, as you know, it takes skill to get to the playoffs in the regular season. But when it gets to the playoffs, it really does come down to luck and matchups and depending on decision making. Do you make the right decision by putting the right guys in, or do you end up second guessing yourself and end up putting the wrong guy in? And trust me, I've done it. Reflect has done it. A lot of us that have won championships have done it. And we'll see how it all plays out. But it's kind of looking like it might be a Zini Panini machine that may be unstoppable here. And it looks like that she'll end up clipping Shep. Obviously, starting Brock Purdy and Kittle really hurt his chances. And when you go against Zini, you got to hit on all your players. Burrow always hits. Chase Brown always hits. Jamar Chase always hits. And on top of that, with guys like Brock Bowers, Minnesota defense, and again, a guy like James Cook, she definitely has a super team that scored the most points in the season. But you never know what could happen because, again, we figured it would be Reflect and Zini. But again, matchups are everything. Decision-making is everything. And luck and the way that the game flow goes. Because I feel like if the Detroit Lions played anybody but the Buffalo Bills, more than likely, I think Reflect would have ended up winning because you would have ended up having a traditional type of game. But anytime you end up scoring against a team that can put up as many points as you, that's less time of possession for you to get into your rhythm. And then once you end up getting down 14-0, they're not going to be looking to give the ball to Montgomery and Gibbs as they were if they were up 10-0 or 14-0. So just kind of bad game script, even though the scoring ended up being there at the end, and we ended up getting a 48-42 game. But again, fantasy is a cruel, cruel beast. And again, sometimes it works out for us and sometimes it doesn't. I wish the best of luck for everyone so far and obviously moving forward. Daniel in the building, what's good? Sarah in the building, what's good? Double E in the building. Hey, he said, don't let the big steppers get hot, man. And again, Lamar came up huge for you. Scary Terry McLaurin as well. It's still not over yet, but again, fantastic job. And again, you're really lucky that you ended up having Lamar against a bad defensive team, because if you ended up having a team that had any kind of defense, it might be going the other way. So you definitely took advantage and got a little lucky with the matchup there with the Giants. And congratulations with what you've been able to put up with up to this point. Matt in the building, what's good? Reflect in the building, what's good? Yeah, Scary Terry, definitely scary for E as well as Lamar. And it's kind of funny because we were talking about it as well. And I was kind of hoping, I wasn't going to tell you what to do, but I was kind of hoping that you were going to switch your Kyler pick to Jalen, because I figured Jalen was going to have a good day regardless if Pittsburgh is out there or not. And I don't know if you were in the streams earlier, but Pittsburgh hasn't beat Philadelphia in like a billion years. So I already knew with that stat alone that Hurts's numbers were going to be good. Even if the TJ Watt experience, even though he ended up getting an ankle rolled up on, even if he was out there for that whole game, the Steelers weren't going to, beat the Eagles. But again, things can go in so many different ways. You could have had Jalen start. He could have put up a 10, or he could have put up what he did today. But again, sometimes it's hard to make those tough decisions when you're in the playoffs or when you're in the championship. Let's go, baby. Yeah, I mean, you never know on how things could end up going, for sure. Captain in the building, what's good? Yeah, and you always want to make sure you're going with the quarterback that you pretty much have rode the whole season. And sometimes it backfires like it did on me with Baker Mayfield, and I could have went for Nick Mullins and I would have beaten you, but it just didn't feel right for me to try to win the championship with Nick Mullins and Zamir White, so I ended up going for Baker and Mike Evans. Last season, they played the fucking Panthers, which I thought was, easy breezy cover girl. They ended up scoring fucking 9, not even getting a touchdown, and Baker was hurt, and then I lost. So, sometimes it works in your favor by riding the guy that you've had for a majority of the season, but sometimes you want to, try to quote unquote play it smart. Sometimes it works, sometimes it backfires, and yeah, man, I feel for you, man, especially with only one loss in fantasy all year. Pretty cruel. And Seahawks here with the kickoff. I'm getting caught up with the comments here as well. Ooh, Packers. Yes, he has been. Not sure if he's going to have a shitty game here today, though. We'll find out. Reflect with a tenner. I appreciate your support. Stacks on stacks, racks on racks, little Cactus Jack, bang, bang. I almost feel like we kind of jinxed it, because we were talking about E winning and then, talking about Jalen Hurts, and then all of a sudden it kind of happened. I mean, it's not over yet, but, again, decision-making and a little bit of luck is everything, especially in fantasy. We're at 10, 90 to go. Appreciate you very much. No Autobots. Yeah, I mean, like I said, because Kyler, has his good games and bad games, but you always want to be able to go with the guy that got you there. And, sometimes Jalen will shit the bed and get you 8 to 10 points, but, at home, the Steelers have never won there, in like 30, 40 years. That stat alone was good enough for me. But again, I know that you like to be able to, give Kyler a chance to be able to get it done. And, sometimes that's what happens. We fucking make mistakes, And you obviously had, Thomas there on the bench too, that if you would have implemented him over Mixon. But, I mean, how many times would you have done that during the regular season? Probably none, unless Mixon was hurt. So you kind of went through, the guys that got you there, with Montgomery and Mixon, and it just game script alone just kind of screwed you. So definitely unfortunate. Finley in the building. What's good? Yeah, I think they jinxed you too, because it's the first time that they had you guys favored in 2 months, and then you guys shit the bed. So maybe just being the underdog would have been better off for you guys, and you guys would have played a little bit better. So first down and 10 for the Packers. Man in motion. Love. Halfback toss. Josh Jacobs for 3. Second down and 7 on the Seattle 24. Lots of bots. But I feel like in fantasy, everything that happens to you happens for a reason. And, if you end up, losing during the regular season or in the playoffs or even in the championship game, it teaches you something. And, and sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow if it ends up meaning that you get eliminated or you end up having to get third place instead of being the champ, at the end of the day. But we'll find out. We'll keep a look at the scores on how things end up flowing, and we'll end up doing tomorrow's matchup. That'll end up having some individuals play, like DJ Moore, obviously for Double E, and we'll see how it kind of all plays out. Josh Jacobs, first down, Packers. Man, 3 sets of bots? Man, they're getting crazy. But realistically, if you end up winning Double E, I think you realize that the Zini machine is almost impossible to beat. So you might be able to beat Reflect, with Lamar having an amazing week against a shitty defense, but you're not playing the Giants with Lamar next week also. And that's what you would probably need to keep up with Zini. A monster number out of Lamar, 30, 40, 50 points. Otherwise, it could get ugly. And I think you know that as well. Nice run there by Josh Jacobs. But anything is possible in fantasy. We know this. Anybody can beat anyone, and it's all about matchups. And if you pick the right people at the right time and you don't leave a lot of points on your bench, and if you're able to do those things, then it gives you the best chance to see if you can become victorious in the championship or in the playoffs. Nice run there by Josh Jacobs. Yeah, I would assume Jacobs will score once or twice in this game. And same thing with Charbonnet. I wouldn't be surprised if Charbonnet scores once or twice this game either. And they obviously are a very run-heavy team, just like when they had Aaron Jones, but Jacobs is a better runner and a better player at this stage of his career. And they definitely have been utilizing him very heavily in the last month or so. Pretty much the whole season, but they definitely have been going, a little bit more Josh Jacobs heavy, less passing to Reed and Dobbs and Watson, and that's probably the right move. You got, capable people out there, but I know you got Kraft in your fantasy lineup as well, and there is a chance that he could get in the end zone here tonight. Yeah, you have the weakest team out of everyone that was in the playoffs. I mean, that's hands down. I think you realize that. The team, as far as top-tier talent, is nowhere near compared to the other 3 teams. But, again, it just sometimes, I think your team is right there with Shep's, maybe slightly better. It's like right there. Shep's got a couple good pieces, obviously with the Saquon and the Jetta. But, again, you can put up big numbers with Lamar and Jacobs, and that evens out. So, but again, it's all about, kind of guessing correctly every single week. And sometimes, you can guess correctly for 13 or 14 weeks. And then all of a sudden you have like one of the worst, games of the year. And sometimes that happens to all of us. It's happened to me too. 2nd and goal. Love trying to do a little bootleg scramble for 4 yards. Dive! And just short of the marker. 3rd and goal on the Seattle 1. And this should be a Josh Jacobs touchdown. Yeah, but again, if you didn't have Lamar going against the Giants, that was a big one. It just so happens that you end up playing one of the worst defenses in the NFL, and he goes for 5 touchdown passes. I mean, that's only going to happen with Lamar maybe once or twice a season. And you obviously got really lucky with that matchup, obviously first round in the playoffs. And also remember, we normally do best of 2 weeks. This is the first year, handoff up the middle, touchdown, Josh Jacobs. But this is the first year that we did best of 1 week, and maybe that was a mistake. Maybe we should have done best of 2 weeks. But if you do that and you end up being in the championship round, you may have to play backups or guys that are on the wire, because a lot of the starters may be resting at that point. And that's what we experienced last year when I had to end up, going through different decisions with like Zamir White and obviously going with the backup for the Vikings instead of, maybe going with one of my regulars. So I know I did say that Colt McCoy. I figured you did that. I did that with Tom Brady in years past, even if he wasn't playing, just for the aura. Kick is up and good. 7-0 Green Bay. Nine touchdowns in 5 games. That's really what got you here, Double E, and I think you know that too. So for the rounds that count, we got Reflect at 114.8 or 114.76, which is 114.8, and he is done. And Double E is at 95, and he's got Jacobs already with 12.4, who will probably get 20 to 30 today. Kraft at a 0, and then you got DJ Moore tomorrow. So unless we end up having a 0 with Kraft and like a 5 or less out of a Moore, it looks like you're going to be able to advance. And then obviously with Zini Panini, she's at 102.14. And you got Shep at 58. And he already knew that the season was already done for him when you put up a 3.98 with Purdy. He needed to have Purdy to put up a 20 to 30 to have any chance against Zini. And Robinson underwhelmed. Kittle underwhelmed, Ridley underwhelmed, Baltimore D and Dicker. And if you're in the playoffs and you end up putting up a 3, a 9, an 11, a 10, a 9, an 8, and a 6, you're done. And obviously, if you look on the other side, Zini is projected for 140, 17 for Burrow, 26 for Cook, 26 for Chase Brown, 18 for Jamar Chase, Flowers with 11, Folk with kicker, her weakest point at 3, but she's got Minnesota D, Brock Bowers, and Jordan Addison. I don't know why the bots are being so heavy today, but it kind of looks like Zini might run away with it. But again, you never know until the fat lady sings. 7-0 Green Bay. All right, Seattle, your turn. See if we can get Charbonnet in the end zone, or if we can end up getting a nice, sprinkled passing game with Geno to be aggressive early on. Let's go. Let me know what you're wanting photo-wise, and I got you. Reflect. And man, it's just like, it's one thing if you end up having a record of like, 13-3, like 11-3, or 10-4, or you're like 8-6, but when you go 13-1, fuck, man. I mean, I know you're disappointed, but obviously I know if that was me, hard to stomach. And it's like, and it makes it, I don't want to say it makes it worse, but it also makes it sometimes worse when you look down at the bench. And if you would have just made other options, you could have possibly won. Those are the ones that sting. If you end up just getting beat and then there's nothing on your bench, like nobody scored any points on the bench, then it is what it is. But when you look at the bench and you see a couple guys that you could have played and would have maybe won, those ones definitely sting. But you definitely set the standard on how to play fantasy football in this league, especially if I wasn't going to be in the playoffs. You definitely did the same type of strategy that I normally would have done throughout the regular season. And sometimes in the playoffs, it just doesn't bounce our way. Yeah, Debo is unplayable, bro. And if you look at my bench, I scooped up all the good players for none of you guys to be able to use. So if you look at my bench, there's a lot of guys that you guys could have used. I got Thielen on my bench, Gorendo on my bench, Shakir on my bench, Andrews on my bench, Mike Evans on the bench with like a 37. So, again, it's like sometimes you got to make sure that you have proper pieces, on your bench. And that's one thing that if you would have worked the wire more, Elliott, throughout the regular season, maybe you would have been in a better position. DK Metcalf. God, what the fuck is going on with the bots today? It's like 5 or 6 different bots. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, sometimes it's just what it is. You choose wrong. I know. For sure. But I think if Double E would have worked the wire like I did this season, then maybe you would have a little bit better of a chance against Zini because your bench would be much better. And that's really what it comes down to, too. If you only rely on 7 pieces like Zini has in the regular lineup and not really worry about the wire, it doesn't really work very well for many people. Like, that's like a special circumstance where you don't really use the wire almost all season. You don't really have injuries, and then you just rely on your 7 strongest pieces for the whole season. And for her, it's worked. But for most people, that will not work. 2nd down and 9 on the Seattle 41. Man in motion, Lockett. Shotgun set for Geno. Noah Fant with the catch. 3rd down and 4 on the Seattle 46. But it definitely feels like you're going to have to put up 140, 150 or more to be able to, be with Zini, in the championship round. It's like if you don't put up 135, 140, 145, 150, 160, it's like you're not going to be able to win most of the time against her with, even a high 120s might not be enough. 3rd down and 4. Shotgun set. Geno, pressure. Oh, it's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a Packer sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. And that offensive line for Seattle needs to protect better the weak link on the team, but hopefully they'll get better as the game goes on, and Seattle will punt. I mean, I'm blocking them as soon as they come in. And I guess the fantasy gods wanted me to be able to have at least 1 or 2 good weeks throughout a whole year, but again, I still, left pieces on the bench that, could have maximized my point total. I was really hoping for at least 1 week to get 170 to 200. And if I would have played my lineup correctly, I would have hit that number, especially leaving all of those points from those wide receivers on the bench. Cooper Kupp getting me a 0 and Jawan Jennings getting me a 5. I could have put in Shakir and Mike Evans and I could have been sitting pretty. But, again, it only really matters for the people that are in the playoffs here today. 7-0 Green Bay. We'll get some Geno photos up here. Hopefully this will rub off and give a little bit of good luck for Seattle. This was going to be a tough one too. We know that. We'll do that for Reflect and anything else that he wants to be able to see. We got to sprinkle in some JSN as well because he's got to be, one of the factors. If Seattle is going to end up winning this game, JSN, Charbonnet, and Geno have to be active early and often, as well as DK. Appreciate you, Reflect. We're at 10, 90 to go. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to a good number here today. Man, I haven't seen the bots go ham like this in a couple years. My goodness. Like 6 or 7 bot runs. Crazy. And then, since we didn't get to discuss it, congratulations to Travis Hunter for winning the Heisman, but you picked the wrong guy. Ashton Genty should have won the Heisman. Now, Travis Hunter is marketable, right? You can end up having a shoe for him. He's going to be more popular on social media. Colorado with Deion Sanders as well as Shador. To me, that was a social media Heisman winner, right? Because in real life, right, I never have seen someone that hasn't led in their statistical categories. It's not like Travis Hunter led the nation in receiving touchdowns or yards or receptions, right? And it's not like he had the best stats out of any defensive player overall, right? But I mean, the stats were very, very good, and he was playing both sides, even though some people think that he might be the best offensive player and the best defensive player. That's arguable, right? You can definitely argue that. He's definitely a great athlete, but I definitely feel that it was a social media Heisman where they, did it based off social media status, rather than actual real life, stats. And if you look at Genty's stat line, and if that can't win the Heisman, then no fucking running back or wide receiver should ever be able to win that award ever again, based on his stat line. I mean, you got Mark Ingram, right, who's won it. First down, Packers, a couple broken tackles there. But Mark Ingram won it, right? Derrick Henry won it. Reggie Bush won it. And literally, right, he's only like less than 150 yards away from breaking Barry Sanders' all-time record, right? So for you to be able to have an amazing stat line like Genty did, is it just because he went to Boise State and that's the reason why they didn't give it to him? And I feel that that is the correct answer. Since he went to Boise State and it's not a popular school like a Michigan, then they decided to go with Colorado, with Deion, Shador. Shit, they even had Lil Wayne there in attendance. So you already knew that they were going to pick him to win the award. So I feel bad for Genty. I know he'll have a chip on his shoulder, but I definitely feel that they picked the wrong guy. And I know you can't have two guys win the Heisman, but if there was ever a year that you could have a split Heisman, it definitely was this year. But shame on them, for picking the social media Heisman winner instead of the guy that actually deserved the award. Facts. And it's not like I'm saying Travis Hunter isn't a good player. I would love to have that kind of player on my team. I think he'll be better than Shador. He's going to be one of those guys in the NFL like Genty that will pan out. It's going to happen. But, again, if you're going to be able to put up monster numbers like almost 30 rushing touchdowns, second place in rushing yards is you with your yak yards, and that can't win a Heisman, and you absolutely obliterated Reggie Bush's numbers, Mark Ingram numbers, and Derrick Henry numbers, and then you don't even win? Like, I get it, a guy plays both sides of the ball, but what records did you break? Were you the number one receiver in yards and touchdowns and receptions, and you were number one in interceptions? If that was the case, yes, you deserve it. But again, when you don't even lead any statistical category, you're just playing both ways, and that's enough to win it. Definitely felt like they got the wrong person on the Heisman winner. And I love Travis Hunter. I'm not a Travis Hunter hater whatsoever. But again, I definitely think that they got that wrong. Green Bay, timeout at the 4:39 mark. All right, take care. But that's what we call, bias. When you start to see, certain type of bias where we all know, that Genty is the winner, right? But they decided to go the other way because it's more marketable, for Nike or Travis Hunter's shoe. It's just not sexy because it's Boise State. But if it was a bigger school, like a Ohio State or a Michigan, he would have won it. But just because he ended up going to a smaller school that wasn't really a part of the Power Five, that they wanted to go with, obviously Travis Hunter. Handoff, Jacobs rumbling and a bumbling. First down, Packers. Seahawks defense needs to step up or this is going to get ugly. I mean, the game isn't over yet. I mean, even if the Packers go up 14-0 like the Bills did against the Lions fought back. So, again, you just have to be able to get into the rhythm. Offensive line, obviously, is going to be a focal point for the Hawks, getting dominated up front. But the defense for Seattle has been very good, lately. So we'll see if they can step up here at home. you got to remember, Josh Jacobs is one of the best backs in the NFL. So when he's rumbling and a bumbling, that's just like Kenneth Walker III rumbling and a bumbling when he's healthy. So, my goodness, bots. Yeah, Cam Ward had no chance of winning the award. I mean, he obviously, they were fun to watch offensively and whatnot, but yeah, he had no chance. Even Dylan Gabriel, no chance. It was always going to be Genty or Hunter. Handoff up the middle. First down, Packers. Move the chains. Yeah, I've never seen the bots be this active, but it is what it is. And if you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help your boy out. Play action fake, little screen pass. Good tackle there by the Hawks. And they got those lime green unis. Doesn't really remind you of the Oregon Ducks, because obviously our apple green is not highlighter green, but I know some people think they're ugly, but I kind of like them. I kind of like the all white little alternates that we got here for Green Bay as well. It's kind of a clean look. And then when you see Minnesota's uniforms tomorrow, they're almost a spitting image of what Green Bay is wearing here today, except Minnesota colors with the white. It's going to be fire tomorrow. Can't wait to see that. Love to Dobbs. Touchdown, Packers. And just like that, a 13-0 lead. How did he thread that needle? And how do you let him get into the end zone? Come on, Seattle. Oh, my. Bad defense. Romeo Dobbs in the end zone. Extra point is up and good. Yep. I mean, I get it. Reflect wanting to watch with his son, but Captain, if you leave, it's not going to get any better. Yeah, and then obviously a WWE main event. Awesome. It was awesome. I mean, the way that they had the old school music, the old school graphics, awesome matches. A lot of throwback old school individuals like Jesse the Body Ventura, right? You had the McAfee there with Michael Cole. I was really impressed. I knew it was going to be good, but they took it to a whole nother level. And again, when you're winning like WWE and AEW and everyone else, NJPW, TNA, they're second tier. And you used to do main event a long time ago. And you've had Raw, you've had NXT, you've had SmackDown. We got the PLEs now. And now you have an additional show for Saturday night, which they can film at the same time as SmackDown or NXT or Raw, however they do it. Or if they actually want to make it a separate event, on Saturdays. I mean, that's a lot of work for those wrestlers. But I was pleasantly surprised. I watched it from beginning to end, and I absolutely loved it. And it kind of gave me a flashback of me sitting on the carpet, playing with my wrestling figures in my wrestling ring and watching main event on Saturday night when I was a little kid. I thought they did a fantastic job, and I think it's going to have some good success. And it was going to be the first opportunity for some little kids as well as adults that have never really watched wrestling. And since it was on NBC, and it wasn't on cable, it gave you an opportunity, even though a lot of people have streaming apps now. But I guarantee there's definitely going to be some newbies, adults and kids that never have watched wrestling, or maybe just watched a little, right? And then ended up watching on Saturday night main event, and now they're going to be hooked. And I was very pleasantly surprised. Obviously, a little disappointed after Travis Hunter got the Heisman over Genty, but that WWE main event was awesome. And the matches were good. It's not like the matches were boring. Like, they had good flow and structure throughout the whole show. I definitely enjoyed that. What's the DB's name? Did you do any research on him yet to see what the stat line is? I mean, we're going to continue to get more and more people, as well as Oregon continuing to have more and more success. We're going to end up having a super team out here on the West Coast. I mean, pretty much they're going to be calling us the West Coast Georgia pretty soon. And, it's just like the Chiefs. You can end up being the fan favorite, early on. But once you end up having success year in and year out, if you're good enough for a long period of time, eventually you'll become the villain like the Kansas City Chiefs. So I know at some point or another, we're going to be a fan favorite. We're going to be an underdog. But once we win that first natty, and if we're lucky enough to win more than one, we're definitely going to be the villain in college football, and I'm okay with that. Nice. What's the stat line look for him? I mean, pretty much we can pluck anybody from anywhere. Again, like we're the team to be. For college football on the West Coast. So again, you're always going to have Ohio State in the middle of the country, right? You're always going to have Georgia and Bama, and obviously Texas in the SEC. Right? And the Midwest and the South. But at least we got to have somebody represent the West Coast for the Big Ten. And, we got to be that primetime team. 14-0 Hawks. They need to figure out. And one thing for Seattle here, you have to not abandon the run. You have to make sure you're still giving the opportunities to Charbonnet, even though Kenneth Walker III is out. And I know the offensive line has been struggling, but you have to make sure you have a balanced offense, because once you start going with Geno throwing the ball 35, 40, 45, 50, 60 times a game, this will be a rout by the Packers if that happens. Geno? DK Metcalf with the catch. And again, you're still going to want to get JSN. You still want DK. You still want to make sure you're getting everyone, opportunities out there, right? But you can't abandon that run. Once you start passing the ball, Green Bay is too smart, and they have too many, smart individuals in that coaching staff. They know what to do when a team ends up abandoning the run, and it won't be pretty. I mean, they're already up right now 14-0, and this is like a must-win game for Seattle, too. Hand off to Charbonnet. Breaks a couple tackles. But we got a flag on the play for offensive holding. Brutal. Yeah, Pat coming back was awesome. The energy was awesome. And it felt, it felt like a spectacle, like an event, and it was, the first time of main event, and people that were there, are going to remember it forever. People that watched it are going to remember it forever. Just like when SmackDown debuted for the very first time, I remember that. And again, shout out to WWE for their continued success. Now we just need the rest of the federations to catch up. 2nd down and 13. There we go. JSN, baby. 1st down. Hawks. I like that, baby. Nice job by Geno to JSN. 1st down. Hawks. Move the chains. Yeah, the Chelsea Green title was pretty cool, too. First down, Charbonnet. Move the chains. And that'll be the end of the first quarter, down 14-0, and it feels like they will be able to get at least a field goal on this drive, but getting 6 will be ideal to keep pace with Josh Jacobs, Jordan Love, and this Green Bay Packer team. 14-0 Packers. Yeah, Liv and EO did. I agree to that too. Even Michin, like if you're looking at the women's roster, it's so much better than any other women roster. Like you could literally combine every other woman roster, AEW, TNA, NJPW, and it still wouldn't compare, because again, WWE has so many layers, with the female talent that it's like you got the top tier ladies, and even the middle tier ladies have gotten a hell of a lot better. That if the middle tier ladies left, that would be really detrimental to WWE, and I feel like even the middle tier ladies have gotten much, much better. And again, back in the day, you never would see the ladies, like main eventing, like the last part of the show, whether it be Raw, SmackDown, NXT, main event, WWE, PLE. But now we're in the time and age that, if it's a good matchup, that, they may end up putting the women ahead of the men. Obviously, it depends on the OTC and Roman Reigns and what they got going on there with the bloodline, the OG bloodline and the new one, or Cody Rhodes, for example. But the Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, there towards the end was nice. And I definitely had a good time watching it. And who knows, if we're looking for other material to do, we might be able to do some wrestling watch along, streams in the future. And obviously doing WWE would be key. 14-0 Packers. Well, if you think about it, she was peaking, in early in this year. So it kind of felt, and then you could tell the crowd was behind her too. So, when you end up getting the crowd on your side, just like LA Knight, yeah, you may not be the best wrestler. And there might be others that might be slightly better on the mic, than you, even though we think LA Knight is one of the best on the mic, even though he's kind of a clone of Stone Cold and The Rock, right? But as far as modern day mic skills, since The Rock and Stone Cold aren't really participating on a regular basis anymore from like the 90s, right? I feel like, he's pretty good. But again, once the crowd is behind you and it's not something that they're pushing on you, it's like organically it's happening and the crowd likes you. Eventually those people get rewarded. We're at 10, 90 to go. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. Let's see if we can get to 10 likes sooner than later, and then we can get to 20. Second quarter begins. Gino, we need 2 more likes to get to 10. Little screen. JSN. 9-yard gain, roughly. Chris Collinsworth, terrible. Not today, bots. Seattle, handoff. Charbonnet, nothing there. And it shows you, if you're a Seattle fan, it is imperative to build that offensive line. And shame on them for not doing it earlier, in the Pete Carroll era. Because again, you got quarterback, you got running backs, you got wide receivers. You don't have a tight end, you don't have an offensive line. And again, when a quarterback is struggling or when running backs are struggling, that's typically the reason. Defense has been much better with McDonald in his first year. But again, they're going to have to find a Brock Bowers in the draft at some point, either this upcoming draft or the next draft, or a free agent that's a top 10 tight end to come in there and to be able to solidify that position. But that offensive line needs a hell of a lot of work. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. And the thing is, field goal is up and good. 14-3 Packers. But the thing is, for all of the haters, towards Gino or, McDonald or whatever, when they're winning games with no offensive line, they're not bringing it up. But then when they get blasted and they end up losing, what happens? They all want to say, oh, the coach needs to go, Gino needs to go. But again, if you don't have time to go through your progressions, and, there's not a whole lot of lanes for the running backs to run through, what do you expect? If the offensive line is like bottom 5 in the NFL, you can't expect to be scoring 30 points every game. And in the games that they do put up 30, it's amazing. Because again, how many teams with no offensive line, even if you have a good quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and a defense, if you don't have a good offensive line and you can put up 30 to 40 points, that is mind-boggling. That's crazy. And they don't want to give Gino the credit then when they end up winning games. So, it's definitely a catch-22, but you definitely get those fans that really don't understand football. And if you end up building the team from the inside out instead of the outside in, that's when you're going to end up seeing Seattle in the NFC Championship game and winning the division on a regular basis, but they still got a long ways to go. Ricky Starks? Yeah, Ricky Starks would be good in WWE if they promoted him the right way. Yeah. And you already knew that they were going to blow that up at some point or another, whether they're together or they're feuding. Agreed. Yes, agreed. Man, bots are in effect, man. I mean, before before you were a part of the channel, when back in the day, we would have times where the bots would come in, but not like this. Where how many bot opportunities have we booted already? Like 11, 12, 13? Normally back in the day, it would be like periodically, like a couple times per quarter, where it would be 5 to maybe 8 times total, and that's it. Sometimes only a couple times a stream, but I don't know what about today makes the bot so active, but, and think about this. If you're a bot, right, there's other streaming websites that people are going to go to. Nobody is going to click on a fucking link in someone else's chat, and watch the game that way. Who knows what that link goes to, if it's spam or if you're going to get a virus or if it ends up sending you to the link of the game or not. It's like there's already streaming links out there that people have access to. They're not going to go to a link from some jobber, fucking, NFL bot, and they're going to get people to come and get traffic that way. Come on, bots. You bastards. 14-3 Packers. All right, Green Bay, your turn. All right, we're at 10. 10 more to go. Let's go, baby. And I knew Seattle was going to get points on that drive, but again, 3 is better than 0. I mean, again, you never want to leave points on the board. Ooh, nice hurdle. Well, also, too, not every sports fan, has the same intelligence. Not every sports fan, knows, as much as others and whatnot. Some people think that just watching the game that they're an expert, but like, what are you watching? Do you know what to look for? And every sport fan is created a little bit different, I mean, we're fanatics here, but there's so many different types of fans that are out there. Play action fake. Love. Check down. Kraft. And they hold them from getting that first down, but they got to get to Jordan Love if they have any chance in this game. The Seattle defense needs to be better on timed blitz, and they got to be able to get to Jordan Love and put him on his back, because as long as Jordan Love is upright, you're going to lose this game. You can go back and forth with each other, but again, they got the better running back and Josh Jacobs since Kenneth Walker III is injured. Charbonnet is good, but he's not Josh Jacobs. And again, offensive line is much better for Green Bay than it is for Seattle at this moment. Man in motion, Love. Hands off to Jacobs. Good tackle there. Just short of the first down marker. 3rd down and 1 on the Green Bay 38. Third and inches for Green Bay. They can just hand it off to Jacobs and get the first down, or go for a pass here on this little screen. There's Dontavian Wicks. First down, Packers. Move the chains. Yeah, better than Aaron Jones. And I know some people were a little shocked that they decided to move on from Aaron Jones, right? Aaron Jones, who actually had a great career for the Packers. But if you're looking at what Aaron Jones has done for Minnesota and, what you're getting out of Josh Jacobs, at this point of their careers, Jacobs is the, better back. And that was the correct decision. But we'll see if Aaron Jones can get in the end zone for Minnesota tomorrow against the Bears. Shotgun set. Love. Going long, going deep. Got a man. Wow. Christian Watson. First down. Packers. Oh, my. Oh, my. I mean, it's one thing when you're playing at home at Lambeau, but if Green Bay is going to be playing like this on the road, I figured the fans would be a little bit more loud and rowdy again. But again, they're getting exposed, with that offensive line. And the defense hasn't really stepped up yet. I assume they'll get better as the game goes on, but I hear Paisley outside my door. Let me go get her and bring her in. She says, "I miss you, Daddy." Hold on, honey. Good tackle there. Daddy, you have to work, okay? Lay down over here. Over here, lay down. Lay down over there, honey. Paisley's in here missing Daddy. Lay down, honey. 3rd down and 6 on the Seattle 20. Green Bay driving at will. Shotgun set. Love steps up in the pocket, going deep, got a man, and complete. If that just had a little bit more touch, that would have been another touchdown pass. 4th down and 6, they'll go for a field goal attempt here. Field goal is up and good. McManus, 39-yarder, 17-3, Green Bay. Sit down, honey. Lay down over here. Lay down over here. Okay. Lay down over here, honey. Oh, Daddy works, okay? Cole in the building. What's good? Nice 39-yarder by McManus, 17-3, Green Bay. All right, Seattle, your turn. Come on now. You got to be able to. I mean, even if you get 3 and it's 17-6, it's not ideal, but it's better than, nothing. But obviously, trying to get at least 1 touchdown before halftime would give them at least a glimmer of hope of maybe catching up in the second half. But again, if Seattle is going to come back and win this game, they're going to need a special teams touchdown, a fumble for a touchdown, a pick 6 for a touchdown, a punch out like Charles Peanut Tillman for a touchdown. They're going to need something extra to be able to kind of, even out the playing field and weighing out the scales a little bit if that's going to happen. 17-3, Green Bay. And it definitely shows you too, there's a lot of teams in the NFL on the NFC side that are still in it, but again, if you're not the Philadelphia Eagles or the Detroit Lions, I don't think you really have a shot. You got Green Bay, you got Minnesota, you got the Seattle Seahawks, you got the Los Angeles Rams, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you got the Atlanta Falcons, and you got the Washington Commandos, but none of those teams are on the same level, as the Lions, even though their defense is non-existent, as well as the Philadelphia Eagles, who look like probably the best team in the NFC. Even though record-wise, Detroit's record is better, but based off the injuries and the defense, I think I'm leaning a little bit towards Philly now, but we'll have to wait and see. We'll wait and see what happens. And then obviously Buffalo, Josh Allen stamped his approval to be able to get the NFL MVP. Saquon will get Offensive Player of the Year. But again, Buffalo doesn't have a defense. They're just going to try to outscore you. And Kansas City, even though it's not pretty, they're still going to be one of those top teams that's favored, to get there. And then, maybe that wild card team, if there is one, for that other team, maybe Pittsburgh, but again, if TJ Watt's injury is a more significant, than what they say, same thing with Patrick Surtain, then Pittsburgh will have no shot. So, and Pittsburgh, that's a long, long shot away because, to me, I don't think that Pittsburgh could beat Buffalo or Kansas City in the playoffs. I think that, they can make it interesting, but I don't think that you're going to see Russell Wilson outplay Mahomes or Allen. So, yeah, but Saquon isn't going to get MVP. He'll get Offensive Player of the Year. And if you ended up watching any of the Buffalo Bill game, you would understand that he already won the award today. And if you went back and saw what he did against the Rams, I mean, it's a done deal. If you're not going to, it'll be like Travis Hunter getting the Heisman, over him. All right. It's like a guy that runs for 3 touchdowns runs and throws for 3. And then today just going crazy. I mean, it's a done deal. The NFL won't get it wrong. But Saquon will get Offensive Player of the Year, and Josh Allen will get NFL MVP. 100%. Mark it. Stamp it. Book it. Not that Saquon isn't worthy of MVP. He is, but not over Josh Allen, though. I mean, if you want to talk about robbery, if Saquon doesn't get MVP but gets Offensive Player of the Year, just talk to Ashton Genty. He got robbed. 100%. I don't think I've ever seen anyone get robbed of a Heisman before in my life besides yesterday. And it shows you, how much bias there is in social media. There's real life awards with, leading statistical categories and being dominant and great. And that doesn't mean anything anymore. I guess it's just being popular, and being marketable is worth more than actually putting up monster stats like Genty did. 2nd down and 5 on the Seattle 30. McIntosh, right end of the Seattle 31. 3rd down and 4. Yeah, and it also shows you, if for whatever reason the Lions end up making it against the Bills, that might not be the team that you want to face. Like if Detroit plays Kansas City or anybody but Buffalo, that's probably what you want. But if you end up being the team and you're Detroit and you get there over Philly and you beat them and then you make it to the Super Bowl against Buffalo, you may not win, because one-on-one, like Jared Goff is damn good, but he ain't on the Josh Allen level. It's like you got to pray that Josh Allen has one of those old school bad games when they had like Diggs and Gabe Davis back in the day. But again, the difference is James Cook, and they didn't have that before. 1st down, Hawks. Jake Bobo with the reception. But we'll see how it ends up playing out. But, I mean, right now, it pretty much Bills, Chiefs, Lions, Eagles. And, if the Lions defense doesn't get any better, I don't know if they're going to get past Philly. And then, obviously, with the Chiefs, they find ways to win. But maybe this is the year that Buffalo and Josh Allen get past them, even if they have to go into Kansas City. I think for me, I mean, if we ended up getting a Buffalo Bills, Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl, that would be pretty amazing. Same thing with Buffalo and Detroit. I mean, unless you're a Chiefs fan, then obviously you want them in there. But I think we've seen enough of Kansas City that I think that a majority of us would want Buffalo instead. Even though their defense isn't very good and they're going to outscore opponents and Josh Allen, but their offense is top tier like it was when Mahomes had Tyreek. So I feel that, as far as entertainment value, we're going to be more entertained with Josh Allen in the Super Bowl than rather Patrick Mahomes and what he's been able to do with that team this year. And then either way, Philly or Detroit would be exciting on the NFC. They both got amazing players on both sides. The difference is Philly's defense is legit. Detroit's isn't. So thank you. Good win for your Bengals as well. I didn't anticipate putting up a 40 burger on one of the best defenses in the league, but I'll take it. We're hungry to take over the NFC South, even though the Falcons started off hot early on, but they're on a skid, and Tampa should be able to win the South now, I'm hoping. Tino, floater, and complete. Charbonnet towards the sideline, the intended running back, receiver, and there's a flag on the play. Defensive holding there on Nixon. 1st down and 10. Hawks. Here we go. Let's gain a little bit of Uncle Mo and momentum. Yeah, getting rid of Gabe Davis, getting rid of Diggs, and that he was, and like I said, he's a me player, and again, when you're a me player, if you get enough touches, then it works out. But as soon as you don't get, your stats and your looks, and you start screaming at the quarterback, but it shows you having a great running back for Buffalo is better than having a great wide receiver. James Cook, definitely makes them play Josh Allen honestly. And before, they didn't have to worry about the running backs because the running backs were always terrible. They were always RB2s, RB3s, and now they actually have a top 5, top 10 running back, and that's the difference. And that'll be the difference in beating Kansas City as well if they play each other in the AFC Championship game or sooner. It'll be Allen and James Cook as the difference. And they should have got a good running back years ago. We said that on the channel. Every single year, Buffalo failed. You need to get a top 5, top 10 running back instead of getting 2 or 3 that are like RB2s and RB3s and then, doing running back committees. It's not good enough. And they finally learned that, it takes a good running back to pair up with Allen, and they got something cooking this year. Defense is some shit, but offensively, much better. First down and 10, Hawks. Man in motion, give it to JSN. Only a couple yards there for JSN. 2-yard game. But this is the most, offense that we've seen in 1 week all season. Kind of crazy. It ended up being so late in the year and everyone pretty much was balling out today, point total wise, but that's how it goes. You never know, when that particular week is going to be. And sometimes the matchups, don't say it all. Like, it's one thing to think that Lamar will go off on the Giants. Duh, their defense stinks. But, look at all the other scores this week. It was crazy. Second down and 8. Fant, there he is. And Fant is okay as a tight end, but that's not really who you want, moving forward. He's a good tight end number 2, but you need someone better than Fant if you're Seattle. I kept telling you about AR, Sarah. I know you Colts fans want to hang on to that dream that he could turn it around and be good one day, but again, for every one game that AR plays good, he'll have 3 that he does bad, and Joe Flacco had a couple good games and then he had a couple bad games, but, he's just not it. You got to find someone that doesn't turn the ball over. Gino, offensive line needs to be improved. Quarterback needs to be improved. GM and head coach need to be improved. Defense needs to be better. There's a lot of things to work at if you're an Indianapolis Colts fan. And, it's, high draft pick, but just because you draft a guy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in the first round at quarterback, that doesn't mean he's going to pan out. And it shows you his lack of experience in high school and college has hurt him in his NFL career. He should have ended up playing more college ball, to hone his skills in. You just can't be able to draft a guy based on his statistics at the combine and think that's going to be good enough. And apparently it's not. So, and hopefully you'll be able to get a quarterback in the future. But AR, he ain't it. Which is kind of a damn shame, because he definitely has like Cam Newton abilities at times, but even Cam Newton could throw. Even though it was more of a shot put, he was more accurate than what you're getting out of AR, unfortunately. The hell happened there? My screen just went black. Whoa. What was that? I think I have a ghost in here. Like, literally, I'm watching the game, and then the TV just turned off. The fuck? What happened, Paisley? I don't know what the hell happened there. Give me a sec here. What the fuck? Wild. Oh, here we go. I don't think I've ever had that happen to me before. All right, let's see if it'll load. Okay, here I'm back. Wow, that was weird. All right, I got to let Paisley out. She wants to go out. Here, give me a sec. Wow, buddy.
So they'll bring Eric Wilson back in the game. Chris Wilson, who was
can't lay right here.
Cooper. Been seen a bunch of times.
Either lay down over here.
Now, Walker was the leading tackler for this team.
All right, I'm good now.
So we are seeing some moving parts after Cooper back for the first time. Now the Dolphins going to move him over.
Yeah, DK definitely should go. Again, he is a good player, but he's not an elite player. And again, if you could end up, getting rid of his salary and then end up getting like a Pro Bowl offensive lineman, that would do much better for them. But again, you can't get rid of DK and then, go for offensive lineman and then get the wrong one. And then you're out 2 players, not only not having DK anymore and then picking the wrong guy and then, going backwards on that offensive line. But, JSN, obviously has shown that, he can be a 1 or a 2. DK is that big body, but if you can get someone in the draft or someone cheaper, I feel like DK isn't really the best route runner, hands. I mean, he's a physical body, kind of limited in his route running. And there's going to be games where he ends up being the man. Intercepted. What the hell was that by Geno? Terrible. But, again, it all depends on the salary cap and what they decide to do with it. But if they were to let him go and then it ended up cashing in on a couple good offensive linemen in exchange, then that would be worth it. But if they end up getting rid of DK and then not addressing the offensive line, then that would be a double negative. So bad throw by Geno. Not looking good here for Seattle. Throwing into double coverage with no Jair Alexander playing today. Not good. 17-3, Green Bay. And it's not like DK is a bad player. He's still like a top, 20 receiver. Sometimes he plays like a top 10, but a lot of times, a little underwhelming. But also, that's not all his fault, because Geno can't get him the ball because the offensive line is fucking terrible. If the offensive line is terrible, you can't expect Charbonnet and Walker to have 100-yard games every week, and you can't expect JSN and Tyler Lockett and DK to have big stats every week either, At any time Seattle ends up having a big week, it's actually kind of shocking because the O-line is terrible, So anytime you end up seeing Seattle put up 30, 40, 50 points, it's crazy because, again, not many quarterbacks with a bad O-line would be able to do that. So, and Lockett is almost at the brink of retirement too. So, they're going to have to look for a couple. But you could always go, like if there's like a Brock Bowers type, instead of getting a receiver, you could go like a Brock Bowers, in the draft, like a type of guy like that. And then, trying to draft another wide receiver, or maybe just getting a free agent that's not as expensive, because again, if his contract is going to be up and he's going to be due a shitload of money, is he really going to be worth the money? Like how much better are you going to be with him on the team? Offensive line is the weakest part of that team and they need help there. But again, they haven't really had a good track record on drafting or evaluating offensive line talent. So we'll see. Yeah, there's also I'm not sure if it's necessarily a rumor, but there is a $4 or $5 million NIL deal for Quinn Ewers. So if he ends up not going to the NFL next year, there's a couple teams, that might actually be interested to see if he would end up, going somewhere else. So if Arch Manning ends up being the quarterback for Texas next year, Quinn Ewers could go back to Ohio State if he wanted to. I'm not sure if Oregon would be willing to pay $4 or $5 million for Quinn Ewers. I mean, we got Dante Moore, but I don't know if he's good enough. I think he's pretty good, but I think we would need someone else. But something to keep an eye on if Quinn Ewers doesn't go to the NFL, he may come back, and it may be due to a $4 to $5 million NIL deal, and he may go back to Ohio State or like Michigan or one of the Big Ten teams. Yeah, but the thing is, Captain, if DK goes, right, and then you improve the offensive line and you end up making the playoffs and being a better team overall, because if you end up paying and keeping DK around and the offensive line is going to stay like this, you guys are never going to make it to the Super Bowl or the NFC Championship game. All you're going to do is put butts in the seats, and have Geno and 2 running backs and these wide receivers. But, defense is much improved, but offensive line is like one of the worst in the NFL. And it's hard to be able to win a division or get anywhere if you can't run block or pass block for your quarterback, whether that's Geno now or a different quarterback in the future. I don't know. DK's a little overrated. I think he's a pretty good wide receiver, but he's not A.J. Brown. He's not Mike Evans. He's not in that same category as those guys. I mean, he's a big name, you know what I mean? But I don't, every once in a while you'll get that big DK game where he has 120 and 2 touchdowns. But, week in and week out, he's not as consistent as an A.J. Brown or a Mike Evans. And if he was as good as Mike Evans or A.J. Brown, then I would say keep him. But he's not he's like a poor man's Mike Evans or a poor man's A.J. Brown. Let's be real. It's just name recognition. You could honestly probably get better stats at a JSN or DK. If you're really being honest about it. Like if you gave more opportunities to JSN, he could probably get in the end zone more than DK. I think that's a fair statement based off his athleticism. He may not be that big-bodied wide receiver, but again, they don't have time to go to those big-bodied wide receivers because those routes take too long to develop, right? And they already are getting sacked, by obviously the defense. The ball needs to come out quick. Flag on the play, going deep. Oh my Kraft. How do you not get that pick, Seattle? First down, Packers. It's the most important position onto an offensive line. Yeah, we're talking about now, right? But if you end up addressing the offensive line, building the defense, and not paying that salary, right, and grabbing a few other people in there, either in the draft at tight end, wide receiver, or someone that's a good receiver like DK but cheaper, again, you guys have a lot of fucking holes. And if you're going to overpay for DK, you guys are going to be the same, just kind of mid-team. Like, you might be able to win the division, every other year, or every couple years, but until the offensive line is improved, you guys are never going to be able to go anywhere. So DK is the 29th rated wide receiver. Do you want to pay billions of dollars for the guy that's 29th? And there's going to be some good games, right? But for a guy that gets 4 targets one game and then 14 the next, 6, and then 12, 7, then 11, 7, then 9, 5, 9, 6, and 2. And then you got numbers like 5, 28, 20, and 15 are great. But then you go back down to 7, 7, 19, 14, 9, 10, 8, 4. I mean, I think, he's a good player. He's a top 20 receiver. But if you're going to pay a top 20 receiver top 10 money and not address the O-line, you'll see what happens in the future. And it's not like I don't like DK Metcalf. I think he's a good player. It's just that, he's not on the same level as some of the others. I mean, if you're going to pay a guy, big money, I mean, you better put up the numbers like an A.J. Brown or a Mike Evans. And if you're not, then, we're at 10, 90 to go. But I honestly think if you gave JSN more targets, right, and you gave him 12 targets a game, 10 to 12, he's going to probably catch the ball more often than DK, right? And also he's got more yak yards and explosiveness. So, he's still young and up and coming, but again, we saw what he did at Ohio State, and they need more because Lockett's on the way out too. But we'll see what kind of strategy that they do. It kind of just really depends on how much money they're willing to give him. Good offensive line will improve the running game, the passing game, and quarterback play. Instead of just DK sitting out there on an island hoping to get the ball, but the offensive line is so bad that they can't even get it to him. I mean, that's not going to help you win games. You got to be able to have time in the pocket to get the ball to DK, to be able to make the big plays. Shotgun set. Jacobs up the middle for 8 yards. 2nd down and 1. Full control of this matchup.
Obviously, you're going to get some softer looks out there. If you're going to run the football, they're going to allow that to happen. But with the speed they went down the field and the open front, I don't know if you want to give them too many opportunities to do that.
Do you think DK is better than Mike Evans or A.J. Brown? Because the answer is no, not even close. You know, Mike Evans is the first ballot Hall of Famer. A.J. Brown will probably be in the Hall of Fame. DK will not be in the Hall of Fame. More than likely. I mean, unless Seattle ends up turning it around and he wins a Super Bowl or two, then maybe, you know, but based on the trajectory of his career right now, he ain't no Hall of Famer. I mean, the best comparison to DK is A.J. Brown, if we're talking about big body. Shotgun set. Love. Floater. Dobbs. Short of the marker.
Seen already just the impact that Romeo Dobbs has had in his return touchdown early and coming back. He is one of those tough physical guys that just adds an element to your offense.
Down for 32 seconds, Chris, when they got to the line. Evans down to 10. 32. You get the first down, right back for 1-1-20. Whatever it is, it's one time. We'll take the 7 games.
Love. Going long, going deep. And PI. Unbelievable. Come on, Seattle. What is this? It's not like you're playing at Lambeau. And like, you know, these are the type of games, you know, that make you understand that there's a pecking order in the NFL, right? The Eagles, the Lions, and then everyone else, you know. And again, from time to time, you're going to see Green Bay and Seattle play well. Same thing with the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Falcons and the Rams and Minnesota and the Commandos. But we are nowhere near the Lions or the Eagle level. Not even close. Yeah, and once Evans is retired and they go and look at his numbers, you know, compared to like Largent and all of the top 10 receivers of all time, I think people are going to be shocked, you know, on how good Mike was, the consistency, even with bad quarterbacks too. You know, it's like he's only had a couple good quarterbacks in his career, Brady and Baker, and that's it. You know, but having to get those stats with shitty players like Jameis Winston, that really shows you how good Mike Evans really was, really is, and always will be. Timeout. I imagine they're going to kick the field goal here to go up 20-3. Come on, Seattle. Wake up. I mean, even with Minnesota's 11-2 record, you know, they would have no chance against Detroit or Philly. They're trying to go for the jugular here, huh? They say we don't give no fucks about Seattle. We're just trying to get it up to 24-3 and just break everyone's heart. Is that what's happening here? They said fuck everybody. Why not kick the field goal? They're just trying to get him to go off sides. STL in the building. What's good? You could. if you ended up making smart decisions like not paying DK and building the offensive line and building the defense, you build the O-line and you build the defense, and you could get to that point where you end up winning the NFC West a couple years in a row and being the new Niners, when they had their nice little run. Field goal is up and good, 20-3 Packers. But sometimes you have to make a sacrifice, for one of your really good players to address another position, a group that is much needed. Because do you think if Seattle actually had a good offensive line, they would be down 20-3? Hell no. They would be down maybe, 20-10 or 20-14 or 20-17, or maybe they even have the lead, And sometimes when you play a shitty team, you can get away with it, right? Where you can still put up 30 points, 40 points and look like the offensive line is doing a good job. But once you actually play a contender or a team that's good, then you get really fucking exposed. Well, only one team is making the playoffs. It's either you or the Rams. That's it. So, and the same thing goes in the NFC South. It's either the Bucs or the Falcons, and the Falcons are on a slide. The Bucs are on a nice little win streak. So I'm not giving up that spot. We're trying to win the NFC South, 3, 4, 5 years in a row. And then tomorrow we got a doubleheader, and I'll cover both games, but the primary game is going to be the Vikings and the Bears. It'll be an opportunity for Caleb not to, shit the bed completely, maybe flash a little bit and show us something. But we would assume that Minnesota at home will probably destroy Chicago. And then you got the Falcons and Raiders. That one would be interesting if we actually got Michael Penix Jr., but I assume that you're going to have Kirk Cousins out there again. 17 touchdowns, 15 picks. Hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in like a month. I think it's time. Especially when they had the lead in the NFC South for, a few weeks, and then Tampa has come roaring back. So we're not going to give up that spot. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us try to get to 20 if possible. And we're at 10. We need 8 more likes to be able to get to 20. So if you are in the room, STL and a few of you, Captain, you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. We need 7 more to get to 20. And we're at 10 on the dono train, 90 to go. I'm going to go get Paisley a little bit of food, and I'll be right back. 23 Packers.
Take that, calendar scientist. Yeah, calendar scientist. You can celebrate Black Friday every day. Any 2 topics you want on a large pizza for only $5.99. Watch out, daylight savings. You get dark slow early. Get custom 2-topping pizza for the unbelievable price of $5.99 when you order online. Pizza.
All right, I'm back. Paisley is sleeping on the couch, all tucked in. She wanted to hang out with Dad, but she knows Dad's got to keep working. So, but I'm excited for tomorrow, and then we get into the college bowl games on Tuesday and Wednesday. Then we'll have Thursday night football, and then we get into really what matters is the college football playoff, and I can't wait until Friday when it starts off. We're going to end up doing Memphis, West Virginia on Tuesday, California, UNLV on Wednesday, and then on Friday we'll do Indiana and Notre Dame. Can't wait for that one. I would assume Notre Dame will win that game, but you never know. If Indiana plays the game of their life, they'll have a shot. But that'll be good. Both teams are 11-1. That'll be a nice way to transition into the weekend. And then Saturday morning, 9 a.m., SMU and Penn State. Penn State will win. Then you got Clemson and Texas at 1. Texas will win. And then you got Tennessee and Ohio State. And you would assume Ohio State will win. But you never know. But to me, it looks like it's going to be, Texas, Oregon, right? And then Penn State, Georgia. That's what it looks like the Final Four is going to be to me. But we'll find out.
They're just really hard to stop. They are really hard to stop. It's the best supporting cast around Josh Allen that he's ever had. He's capable of carrying the team like we saw. Plus, the pressure he puts on the opposing offenses, they have to change their style. Detroit's one of the best running teams in football today. They couldn't run because they were playing catch-up ball. Exactly, reporting exactly.
Not like the Josh Allen being superhuman, a superhero, but the Bills are still getting back at the Chiefs for the top of the AFC. And Kansas City did win in Cleveland. The big story, though, coming out of that game, Patrick Mahomes suffered a high ankle sprain. Mike Florio reported earlier that the Chiefs currently believe they dodged a bullet, and Mahomes could have continued playing today if the game were closer, but the team will have to check on any swelling tomorrow morning. How would you handle this injury moving forward for the NFC?
High ankle sprain from Mahomes.
You monitor it closely, and I think when you watch them walk around, you're like, "Oh, that looks like might be painful." We all said it. He might wake up tomorrow.
We'll see what happens there. But again, I don't think if you're a Chiefs fan, you understand, that you're the villain now. But like with Mahomes and his trajectory and his career, like I mentioned a few streams back, I don't know if we're ever going to see Patrick Mahomes throw, for 4,500, 5,000 yards and 40, 50 touchdowns ever again. He doesn't seem like he has it in him anymore. You know what I mean? Like, again, obviously, if you have a player like Tyreek, that changes everything. But, just based off the personnel that they have, it's like run the ball, play good defense. But just even his arm strength and his decision-making, it seems like he's regressed. It's like I know he's one of the best quarterbacks in this generation, but he don't look like Josh Allen this year. And I don't know if you're ever going to get that type of Mahomes ever again. I hope we do, but I don't think we will. I'm not saying that he's on the downhill slide in his career, but maybe we've already hit the pinnacle, at the top of the mountain of, as good as he was going to get. And then now it's just going to, he's going to have to wait for a player like a Tyreek to be able to, add to that roster to see if he can explode again and have those big numbers. So, but the last couple years, it hasn't really been too impressive as far as, the Patrick Mahomes standard. So I would rather see the Bills in the Super Bowl this year. So Bills Lions or Bills Eagles, that's what I want. And I think that we'll have a good chance to get that. And then if we ended up getting Chiefs Eagles or Chiefs Lions, I think I would be rooting for the NFC. Lions to win it, Eagles to win it. I don't know. Again, sometimes you can be the underdog, like, they were with the Pats and Brady, but eventually when you get good and you're good for a long period of time, eventually you turn into the villain. But, normally we don't have a team that gets assistance from the refs as well, and winning in ugly ways, but that's what we're getting here in 2024.
A look at our special plans for Texas Chiefs next Saturday. But first, a message from Toyota about spreading joy this season.
This is the nicest one we have.
Look at this one. Merry Christmas to you.
Look at this.
Wow. Jacobs already with 20. So Elliott only needs, 6 more points, which he'll get. He's got Jacobs in the second half, Kraft, and DJ Moore. And then you got Zini is projected for 140 and Shep for 92. So we know who we're going to get in the championship. Double E versus Zini. And that's going to be definitely very hard to win. And Zini's got some easy matchups. Bengals versus Cleveland for Burrow, Chase Brown, and Jamar Chase. Golly. Cook going against New England. Addison going against Seattle. Oh, my. Bowers against Jacksonville. She's projected for 136.9. Uh-oh, Double E. Let's take a look at Double E, what he'd be looking at for next week. She's already projected for almost 140. And then he's only projected for 123. And Lamar's got to play the number 1 defense in Pittsburgh. So you're not going to get the same numbers like playing the Giants. Wow. Yeah, you're definitely going to hope to pray. Double E's got to pray that Pickens ends up coming back so he can use him instead of Debo. I wouldn't even be rostering Debo at this point. Yeah, Zini is going to win it. I mean, like I said, her players are better. And again, if you have top-tier players and, get 3 on the Bengals and they all are hitting every week on top of Brock Bowers and James Cook and Zay Flowers, like there's just nobody in the league that has that type of firepower to keep up except for Reflect. But again, if E advances, then, it could be an ugly championship round. Unless his players step up, but I don't think you're going to be able to beat Zini with those type of players. So she's holding it down for the females. But this is like the perfect example of why it's so important that offensive line and defensive line need to be fixed, so that way you don't get exposed like this. Now, if you're playing like the Giants, or something like that, yeah, there's going to be times where you play bad and you lose to them, but, you're going to be able to expose them for just being a bad team. But anytime you end up playing another team that might be a playoff team or a team that's just as good as you or better, if you don't got an O-line or a D-line, you are fucked. But hopefully Seattle will be able to fight back. But again, the only way they're going to get back into this is a special teams touchdown or a defensive touchdown. And so far, the offense hasn't been able to manufacture anything, and the defense has not been good. But again, Josh Jacobs has been one of the best running backs in the league, and it's been tough for anybody to stop them. So. I'm going to go get my water here real quick. Give me 1 sec before this second half starts. Jacob in the building. What's good? Everything is good, Matt. I think for Seattle, if you would have ended up wearing the throwback jerseys instead of these highlighter green jerseys, I think that they would have played better. Because I feel like if you look good, you feel good, you play good. But I guarantee there's probably some Seattle players out there that don't like that jersey. That might be like the worst one out of all of them, unless you like that particular look. But I feel like if you had ended up going with the throwback look, that might have, been able to, get a little bit more out of some of the players.
No pressure, but under pressure. That's the news is 2 sacks and then 1 interception down in the red zone. Jacobs and the Packers got to work where they wanted to toss the ball. See if Seattle turn the tide here in the third. Jalen Dart with that deep. Rico Chris Collinsworth will start. Terry McCauley, our rules analyst, back in the studio.
I mean, I think Seattle would probably still be down, but if they're wearing, instead of these greens, right, if they're wearing these instead, right, I think you play better, and it's like a psychological thing, you know what I mean? It's like some people don't mind these lime green jerseys, but you could argue that these might be the worst jerseys that the Hawks have. Good return there. A little bit too bright for some people, especially with the tops and bottoms being highlighter green. But if you would have wore these, chances are you probably would have played a little bit better, You look good, you feel good, you play good. Yeah, well, in years past, it was best of 2 weeks, and this is the first year that we did best of 1 week, and she's not in the streams on a regular basis. I think she would have known that if she was, but she was awesome to come in yesterday when we did Army Navy and supported and gave us some good donos as well. It was awesome to have her, and regardless if it's best of 2 weeks or best of one, it was either going to be Zini or Reflect based off their teams this year. As when the teams got announced, I didn't really think that Shep or E really had a chance, but again, a couple miscues by Reflect by using Kyler instead of Jalen, and some of the players shitting the bed like Mixon and then leaving points on the bench, and E was able to get Lamar against the Giants and capitalize, and get good enough numbers. But let's be honest, if you guys played Reflect this year, which all of us did and lost to him, normally he puts up 130, 140, 150, 160. You normally don't see Reflect put up under 120, and there's a reason why he only lost one game this year. So sometimes it's just, matchups and bad luck, But Zini is gonna take the whole thing. I mean, it's very clear. And the crazy thing is she didn't really make a whole lot of moves during the year. But if you end up having a strong 7 pieces, quarterback, running back, wide receivers, tight end, and then, and defense, and then you can float around with kicker, which is really her only weak spot. But Minnesota defense has been in the top 2, top 3 all year, right? She's got Burrow, Jamar Chase, Chase Brown. So she's got 3 Bengals. They're all hitting. You got James Cook, who's been amazing, Zay Flowers, who's been great, and Brock Bowers. So it's like literally she's got top tier pieces everywhere. She has no weaknesses except for her kicker, but she also has Kaimi Fairbairn, which she should have probably played instead of Folk. I don't think I would have rostered him, but, it's not like she, barely wins. She usually blows people out by a lot. So sometimes you just got to have the right combination of players to take you to the promised land. And really, the only person that had a chance would have been Reflect with his roster with top-end talent. And again, she won the league before, so I taught her how to play. She listens, takes what I say to heart, and implements it into her strategy, and now she's a fucking fantasy monster. She doesn't even need my help anymore. She knows exactly what to do. There's DK. Getting tackled by about 8 Packers. Yeah. Yeah. Also, too, the captain, when we were talking about DK, I think the maturity. I think for the amount of years that he's been in the league, still kind of a little over emotional, and a little immature, compared to guys like AJ Brown or like Mike Evans and other big bodied wide receivers, and I know he's young. I know, he's going to, be who he is and whatnot, but it's like, there's a lot of things that he could really work on to improve on, like route running, his hands, his attitude. But if they do decide to give him the bag, I hope that they don't ignore that offensive line. Uh-oh, it's 12 noon. You know what time it is. Time for another sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Oh, my. Zini in the building. What's good? You're about to win the chip again, huh? You got that power 8, power 7, no matter who they play, all your guys typically hit. And especially now with Reflect losing to Double E, I already looked ahead. You're already projected for almost 140 next week, and you got really easy matchups. So you're going to be a 2-time champ on the channel. And you were one of the last ones that I invited to the league because I figured that it would be a good person to have to kind of make everyone else work harder, including myself. And what a way to be able to draft, get a little bit of lucky with the injuries with just Pacheco, and that's it, but it didn't hurt you, and then picking up Chase Brown was a cherry on top. Shame on everyone else in the league for not picking him up before Zini, and now you have created a monster. It takes a lot of skill during the regular season, but playoffs, it's really about luck. And then picking the right players, unless you're Zini, where you don't have to make a whole lot of moves on the wire throughout the year, and then you just have beast, players, 7 of them, and then Minnesota's defense that's been top 3 all year, and then you can decide what you want to do with kicker, with Fairbairn or Folk or whoever else. Gino, flag on the play, that's coming back. Offensive holding. Mwah, mwah. Any offensive plays coming back due to a hold. I did, but you listened. And that's the thing, like I said, I do a lot of research. I do a lot of film study and reading. And, again, you do the same strategy every single year. You're always going to grab a rookie, no matter who it is, running back, wide receiver, tight end, because that could be the league winner, and be someone that ends up being one of the best, since you did it with DK and Jefferson. You did it with Bowers, which was fantastic. You've been very, very solid every year you've been a part of the league, and way to hold it down for the females to show, even the dudes, that, hey, I can get this done. Gino, there's Charbonnet, who's been a non-factor here today. Short gain. Yeah, but also too, being an Eagle fan and liking, Joe Burrow and some of the Bengal players, if it was like another year, maybe those stats aren't as good, and maybe you don't make it that far, but it just so happens that the Bengals have a shitty record, but they're putting up stats as if they were winning the division, and they were going to end up winning like 12, 13 games this year. So you kind of lucked out, that even though the Bengals are not very good, I mean, their defense is terrible, but offensively they have been fantastic this year. And Chase Brown, as of late, has started to put up Joe Mixon type of numbers for the Bengals offensively and in fantasy. So I'm proud of you. Again, I always make sure to have at least a couple females in the league every year, and maybe for some of the dudes in the league thinking, oh, this is going to be an easy win. I'm playing a girl or I'm playing a female, but I think they started to realize that, regardless if you're a guy or a girl, if you know what you're doing, you can win in fantasy, even against an experienced person that's been doing it for years and years and years. So, 20-3 Packers. Yeah, and also, getting a guy like James Cook, again, is perfect. For everything that you already had, making sure that you had someone that ended up being like a top 5, top 10, back all year. Burrow's been great, right? James Cook has been, you haven't even really needed Pacheco. You didn't even need him, right? You got Chase Brown, right? You got Pacheco and Xavier Worthy just sitting on the bench for emergencies. You don't even need them, right? But Burrow, Jamar Chase, Chase Brown, James Cook, Brock Bowers. I mean, I know your team, and I know your team probably just as good as you do, and it's been great. And you got one more week, and then, because again, we normally do best of 2 weeks, but they wanted to do best of 1 week. So instead of having to wait a couple more weeks to win the championship, more than likely you'll be raising the crown next week, and then I'll end up getting you something. I'll get you if you win. I'll end up getting you like something Eagles related from the NFL team store. So. Yeah. crazy, you know, because like for me, you know, I have to put in like a maximum amount of effort, no matter what, you know, regardless if I'm undefeated or if I have a bad record or a bad year like this year, I'm still going to make the most moves, you know, out of anybody. And I'm at 181, you know, but again, not everyone can play like a Zini strategy where you already have all these amazing players and you don't really need to add. Zini's made 12 moves. I made almost 200, you know, but again, when you got guys like Burrow and Cook and Chase and Bowers, Flowers and Addison, it's like you get those Devontae Smith type of players where you have him also, but Addison is just like a Devontae Smith where sometimes Addison's numbers are going to be better than Jay Jetta. Sometimes Devontae Smith is going to be better than A.J. Brown. And that's exactly what you want out of a wide receiver. You know, you already have Jamar Chase, but if you can get a guy like Addison or Flowers, you know, who's a 1, and then obviously Addison is a 2, but sometimes Addison will blow up for fucking 20, 30, 40. And that's why you've been as good as you have been is, you know, all your receivers have big playability. Your running backs have big playability. You know, defense, big playability. Bowers at tight end as a rookie, big playability. You don't really have any weaknesses. And shout out to you. Second down and 2, 20-3, Green Bay. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 20. We need a few more likes to get there. And we're at 10 on the dono train, 90 to go. Help your boy out. Renee in the building. What's good? Handoff. Josh Jacobs. Short of the marker. 3rd down and 1 on the Green Bay 16.
That's the guy responsible for the 7th year, Brian Weekooks. You think about Reed, Wicks, Dobbs, Watson.
Great win for your Eagles today, too. And they're looking like, to me, the best team in the NFC. You know, the Lions are fantastic on offense, you know, but again, if you get a team that can score like them, they struggle and they kind of get discombobulated and they don't have a defense right now. So their defense is better than what it was last year, the Lions. But if you play a team like Buffalo or Philadelphia, you're fucked because obviously Buffalo and Josh Allen, he's playing like the best quarterback on planet Earth right now. And Philly, not only are they great on offense, they're great at defense. So I like teams that are more well-rounded. And I feel like, you know, the Chiefs, you know, are pretty well-rounded, but they're not as good as offense as Philly. You know, even though that they have the history in Mahomes and he's got that high ankle sprain. So it might be, you know, the first time where we get a team that doesn't have a defense like Buffalo. Nice tackle there by the Hawks. Finally a good play there for Seattle's defense. You know, but it might be the first time that we finally get Buffalo beating KC. But, you know, based on what I watched today, and I watched all the games today, you know, Buffalo and Philly, they might be destined for a Super Bowl trip if Detroit and Kansas City don't get there themselves. But right now, you know, I put Philly over Detroit and I put Buffalo ahead of KC, even though record-wise it may be, you know, the other teams, you know, but as of right now, you know, my pecking order would go Buffalo, then KC, and then Philly, and then Detroit. You know, but again, any combination of those 4 teams can make the Super Bowl. If you're a Chief fan, you want the Chiefs. But if you're not a Chief fan, you want Buffalo, right? And then again, and if you're an NFC fan, you don't really care. You know, either Lions or Eagles. Obviously, probably most of the country would go Detroit, you know, because obviously Philly's fan base, you know, is a little toxic, right? But again, if you're going to push that to a side, you know, even if some of the fan base is a little toxic, you know, they have the most complete team. You know, out of all the teams in the Power 4, right, the Detroit Lions, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Buffalo Bills, you know, to me, the most well-rounded team right now by a landslide is Philly. So maybe this will be the year. And really, if Philly plays Kansas City, they can win. But if Philly ends up playing Buffalo, that's a wild card. Because, you know, you would assume that Josh Allen would get slowed down, but would they be able to slow him down enough and score enough on their end to be able to beat them, you know? And again, Philly's defense is the best out of those 4 teams. I would even put them higher than Kansas City's defense, you know, based on what I've saw this year. So, you know, and again, you have to have balance, right? Offense, defense, special teams, coaching. And, you know, I know that we've been talking about, you know, Buffalo, Kansas City has been scraping by. right? Detroit has had this magical year, and Philly has been kind of under the radar. No one's really talking about them unless Saquon Barkley has an amazing game. But again, to me, that team looks like they're the most Super Bowl ready. So if Philly gets past Detroit, that might actually be the Super Bowl. You know, if Buffalo plays KC, I don't think it's going to be as exciting. You know, and maybe it's a blowout. Buffalo wins by a bunch. You know, if that happens, possibly, right? But if it ends up being Philadelphia and Detroit in the NFC Championship game, that's probably going to be the real Super Bowl. You know, if we're really thinking at it, that one could really, live up to the billing. And then if they get past Detroit, they're going to go all the way. There's not going to be, Philly goes and beats Detroit, and then they're going to lose to KC or Buffalo. I doubt that would happen, but you never know. Yeah, trying to make it where A.J. Brown and Jalen are not cool with each other. Yeah, they always are trying to do that. Yeah, well, Bills are fun to watch, and Josh Allen, you can easily root for the guy. You know, I feel with like KC, we've been there, we've done that. And again, if you're good enough for a long period of time, like Brady and the Pats, you go from being the underdog to the villain. And I don't think anyone really gives a shit about KC anymore besides KC fans. I think we're kind of sick of it, you know, and, you know, it's like now if the offense, if Mahomes was good like he was in years past, I don't think we would be sick of it. But now that they're barely winning games and the refs are getting involved and then people are thinking there's cheating and collusion and whatnot, I feel like everyone is kind of just like over it now. But at least on the bright side, we don't have to see Taylor Swift on the fucking screen 10 times every game. First down, Hawks. Geno to Tyler, get to the door and lock it. First down, Seattle. Move the chains. But I think Buffalo, Philly, or Buffalo, Detroit, those would be my top two matchups. I think if you played KC that you could win. If you play Buffalo, again, there would probably be more of a chance to lose. But again, your defense is much better than most people's, and KC can shut Josh Allen down too. It's not like Josh Allen is going to go for 3 touchdowns in the air and 3 on the ground against Philly's defense. Not going to happen. Maybe against Detroit's defense, but not against Philly's defense. So it really shows you like that Vic Fangio hire. And you guys, if you guys win the Super Bowl, it's going to be because of the defense, and it's going to be because of Vic Fangio. So, Geno hurt. Shouldn't have wore this jersey combo. Should have went for the throwbacks. The game would have been better. Should have went right here. This would have created more vibe than going with a highlighter green top and bottom. Kellen Moore has been good. I mean, he just got stuck in fucking Dallas and, mediocre hell, and you can only do so much with Dak and that offense and whatnot, and good for him. He got the fuck out of there and now is on a team that could be a champion, But Moore was blessed with great, weapons on Dallas and Philly. But Saquon and Vic Fangio, man, shows a big difference. As well as Mitchell and Cooper. Good defense there by the Packers. Sam Howell passing complete. Uh-oh. 4th down and 12. And in a game that was a blowout, it's going to get worse. And that's what I was saying. There's a pecking order. There's the Chiefs, there's the Bills, there's the Lions, there's the Eagles, and then nobody else has a chance. And if we had to choose another team, maybe Pittsburgh, maybe, Minnesota based off their record, but I don't know how Minnesota or Pittsburgh would do in the playoffs. If they play, any of the top 4, they're not winning. Even if they're at home, even in Pittsburgh, if Buffalo went into Pittsburgh, it wouldn't be a guaranteed win. If Pittsburgh was hosting KC, that doesn't mean that they're automatically going to win, even though Russ has had a pretty good year for them. Oh, and got to get a better backup than Sam Howell, too. I mean, he had flashes for the Commandos, but you need a better player than that. Kick is up. And good. At least you got a field goal out of that. 20-6, Green Bay. But I like teams that have balance, and it's O-line, D-line, defense, coaching, play calling, right? And out of all the top 4 teams, Chiefs, Bills, Lions, and Eagles, the Eagles are the best. Best O-line, best defense, right? Best D-line, coaching, play calling with Vic Fangio and everything that they got going on. And obviously with Sirianni, he was kind of like on the hot seat, based on what happened last year. If he had another 2 bad years, they probably would have gave him the boot. But then getting Vic Fangio saved his ass and saved his job. And again, great drafting by Howie Roseman as well. Other teams take notice. If you can get a Howie Roseman, and the guy doesn't miss. If you've seen like in the last 5, 6, 7 drafts, the guy doesn't miss. And again, if you can get the right coaches and the right personnel, they can end up being champions again. They had Nick Foles and they got it done. And Jalen is ready for his. Facts. And I know Detroit fans would be sad if they don't make it to the Super Bowl and win it all, or even just get to the Super Bowl. But again, that defense is not good, and again, no Aiden Hutchinson. And again, they've been getting exposed. And, at some point or another, especially in the NFC, AFC championship game and Super Bowl, you got to have a defense. You might be able to get away with so-so defense like in the wild card round if your offense is awesome like Josh Allen. But at some point, you're going to get tested by someone, and you got to make sure that you can still move the ball on a great defense. And then if you've got a great defense, sometimes that's going to single-handedly win the game for you. Am I into Tampa Bay and Florida death metal bands? I listen to all kinds of music. I'm kind of more hip hop, first. But I don't really mind, like metal or rock or alternative. Obviously being a big wrestling fan, a lot of the intros are either like rock or metal. So obviously that kind of got me started with that. And, it just kind of depends on my mood, If I'm doing like Ozzy, or like, Green Day or Red Hot Chili Peppers or Metallica or Guns N' Roses, it just kind of depends on my mood. But I think Odin's son is more into metal than I am, but kind of just depends on who the band is. But again, I'm not really a big metal band guy. But O-line, D-line, defense, coaching, play calling. And then also you're getting those Georgia players to start to really show what they can do in the Jalen Carter, Nakobe Dean. Like, they don't miss. And it's like they don't have to get just Georgia players every year. And Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, I think some people thought, that's not going to be that good of a draft. I knew that was going to be good. And obviously they have been better, in year number 1 than anyone ever anticipated. I think people thought that Mitchell and DeJean would be good in like year 2 and year 3, not beasting in year number 1. But again, that's Philadelphia for you. And again, Jalen is hungry to get on that winning side of that Super Bowl. And I imagine if the Eagles played the Chiefs and got a little payback, that they would love that. Love? How is that not picked? Golly, Seattle is so out of position. Turn around. It's like lack of effort. And I know that secondary, has gotten better and whatnot, but it just seems like they're just so out of position. And the defense, can't be bad for Seattle because that's one of their strong suits. You got quarterback, running back, wide receiver, no O-line, no tight end, D-line almost, in the past, non-existent. It's been better this year. So then in the games that Seattle has won to get to an 8-5 record up to this point because of that D-line. But again, linebackers could be better. Secondary has drastically improved, and the secondary has been pretty good for the most part, but still not a complete team on the O-line and the defense. Nice tackle by Draymond Jones there. And if you've noticed, Jordan Love has been upright this whole game. You're never going to beat the Packers, regardless of their record, if Jordan Love isn't on his back. He's got to have that pressure, tip passes, interceptions, sack lunches, pressures, making him run and create on the bootleg, which he actually is pretty good at, Jordan Love. But again, you want to make the game as difficult as possible. And this is pretty much for any quarterback, but specifically Jordan Love. You let Jordan Love sit back there all day and all night, you're fucked. He's actually starting to kind of come into his own as one of the better quarterbacks in this league. Green Bay don't miss that quarterback. And they always have athletes at running back, wide receiver, and tight end. Right? In the Brett Favre era, Aaron Rodgers era, and now in the Jordan Love era. 3rd down and 4. Watson. 1st down, Packers. Move the chains. Yeah, and if you notice, they always will have like kind of no-name guys that they turn into names, because of the quarterback and the opportunities that they're going to end up getting. Whether that's a Christian Watson or a Romeo Dobbs or a Jaden Reed or a Kraft. They could really have anybody at tight end, and it could be just some no-name guy. Anderson, Lewis, who knows what the guy's name is. They put him in at tight end, and it just seems like no matter who they plug in at tight end, the guy always produces. And they've had a couple of them on Green Bay. Reed. And they're about to score again. Like that one week that Reed got a 0 for you a couple weeks ago. That's just mind-boggling. How does Reed get a fucking 0 as the best receiver? How does Cooper Kupp get a fucking 0? You know what I mean? This fucking fantasy year has been upside down like a motherfucker. I'm not in the playoffs. Fucking Reflect is going to lose after going 13-1. Are you fucking shitting me? This is crazy. I've never experienced a year in fantasy like this. Handoff. Good defense there by the Hawks, finally. Yeah, fantasy has not been kind for you in the last couple years in our league. But I guess at least you have other leagues that you're doing where you're doing okay or doing well or good. So that way that you can have some fun. I mean, imagine if you only did our league. You probably would never play again. Or or if you were to play, you probably wouldn't give it your all. Just be based on how things have happened in years past and whatnot. But that might be a false start. A rare penalty there on Green Bay. Top 4 in the other one. Good job. Yeah, I was going to say, if you're only doing one and then you end up being last or second to last or third to last, you can only have that happen if you're I guess it really depends on how competitive you are and how much you care, and, if it's one of those things that you just want to be a part of the channel's thing, and it's not that big of a deal, but. Jordan Love, shotgun set. Christian Watson, 9-yard gain, 4th down and 1 to the Seattle 5. Big pop there by the Hawks. But you can just go for the field goal because that's what they do. Kick is up and good. 23-6 Packers. Nice job, bro. But the thing is, you got the hardest matchup of the year going against, someone that's going to be projected for almost 140. I already looked at your team for next week and her matchups as well. And if you look at player for player, man, it's going to take a miracle for you to win. But hell, just for you to be able to beat a 13-1 Reflect, which I thought was the only team that could beat Zini this year in the championship, but you ended up getting there with Lamar, picking Lamar in the 1st round. And, even if you don't win it all, you got a hell of a lot farther than you thought, and you got a hell of a lot farther than anyone probably thought based off your team. So congratulations on making it to the championship against Zini. But you're literally going to have to put up 150 or more to beat her. And if you do that, you're going to have a chance. But if you don't put up, like 140, 145, 150, 155, you're fucked. You put up a 129, that might not be good enough. You put up a 134, that might not be good enough. And in most weeks, that will be good enough. But going against her, it's like, fuck, you might have to put up a 150 to 200. That's going to be a tough thing to do. But, for finishing in, second place, if that's what happens, that's a hell of a year for you, bro. Again, I've never not been really in the playoffs before. And to finish in 7th place is a rare air for me. But, for you to be able to take my spot and to get there, congratulations, man. Drafting fucking Lamar in the first round. But it worked. And he might not win MVP, but for a good chunk of this year, he played like an MVP, right? Where he was in the MVP consideration before Saquon and Josh Allen got extremely hot as of late. But Lamar has been fantastic for you. And I guess it shows you, yes, you can draft a quarterback that you want more than anyone else in the first round, even though it's kind of taboo and a no-no, but it shows you, in certain circumstances, right, you can make minimal moves and have Lamar in the first round and make the championship. You can be like Zini, draft correctly, get lucky with no injuries, and just rely on 8 pieces pretty much the whole year, make like 12 moves, and potentially win it all. Where, here, I'm fucking blood, sweat, and tears, hitting my head against the fucking wall, making almost 200 moves, and I'm in fucking 7th place. So, again, everyone's got different strategies, and there definitely is a little bit of luck involved in fantasy, but a hell of a job to make it to the championship round, which I don't think anyone anticipated. Shout out to you, man. And I'm obviously going to be doing the Vikings and Bears game tomorrow. I don't know if you're able to hang out tomorrow, but I'm definitely excited to see what Minnesota and Bear players go off tomorrow. We're at 10, 90 to go.
Holidays, being for last time. Melissa.
Mike saw Geno Smith get injured on Seattle's last drive.
Oh, James Conner with a 30. Devontae Adams with a 42. Thank you. Jonnu Smith with a 20. He's been money. Denver defense with a 19. If I was able to get to the playoffs, I think I would have had a pretty damn good shot. If I was in the Final Four, I think I would have had a good shot, to get to the championship round. Probably lose to Zini, but now you got Geno and Lockett going to the locker room. Christ. Uh-oh, Seattle. Hopefully it's not serious for both of them. And let's see if Sam Howell can be a hero. But you can't be a hero when you don't got an offensive line. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is. Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. And you can't have a terrible offensive line and think that you're going to win games. You can win games against shitty teams, but you're never going to win against a good team because they're going to exploit the fuck out of you. And that's exactly what they're doing here. It stinks. I hate seeing this. But again, that should be a message learned to the fucking organization that this is the number one most important thing. Not DK, not his fucking contract, not Geno, not anybody else. The number one priority has got to be that goddamn offensive line and then the defense. No other position should be worried about besides those. And if you fix those, everything will be good. But if you ignore them, you're only going to get so far. End of the third quarter, 23-6, Packers. I mean, good offensive line makes the quarterback better, the running backs better, the fullbacks better, the tight ends better, and makes the coach better.
off first and friendly claims it.
Eyes on the phone now.
Yeah. That's why you got to make sure you appreciate when the team is great. You know, if you're a small market team, you know, like, you know, me and Captain and Reflect, like, it's not like all our teams are going to be good all the time. So you really want to make sure you're soaking in, you know, when the team is great, you know, whether that's the Huskies or the Hawks or whatever it may be, you know, or the Ducks or whatever, you know, because it's not going to be great all the time. And then, you know, you want to make sure you don't forget about, you know, what it took to get to that point, you know, and if your team isn't as good as those previous teams, then you're nowhere near being at the caliber of team you need to be, you know, and that's a good thing to be able to compare to. Like, how does this team compare, you know, to the Legion of Boom and Marshawn Lynch team? You know, and if it's not even close, then you know you got a long ways to go. So, yeah, I mean, they love bringing people back. They might as well bring back Eric Bieniemy. They'll get more production out of the team if Bieniemy comes back as OC. So, I mean, considering that they don't think that he's qualified enough to be a head coach for whatever reason, his personality or whatever it is, you know. I think some of them tried to make it out. They, you know, maybe that particular team didn't want to hire a quote unquote brother coach, you know, and whatnot. But we have plenty of brothers that can coach and also that can play call. So, you know, that's the natural fit for me if I'm Andy Reid, you know, have him come back and be the OC next year. I mean, obviously, the offense can't get any more worse than they're already at now. Yeah, but Spags is defensive coordinator. He can stay there. And then you can have Bieniemy call offensive plays. And then Andy Reid can call plays too. Andy Reid ain't no fucking dummy. Andy Reid can call plays too. Super intelligent. I mean, if Kansas City ends up making the Super Bowl or wins it again, you know, it's definitely going to be a big part of Andy Reid because, I mean, the offense is the worst that's ever been, you know, and if they can still find a way to barely win it, you know, like by 3, you know, beating Buffalo in the AFC Championship by 3, winning the Super Bowl against Detroit or Philly by 3, they'll take it. You know, it might be ugly, but at the end of the day, if they end up winning barely, a win is still a win in a dynasty. So... yeah, it happens, Captain. It happens, Captain. I mean, some teams, you know, understand what it takes to be able to build, you know, a champion. And again, some teams are more focused on quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, you know, and defensive stars, you know, and maybe they, you know, they don't have their priorities right. You know, and other teams are going to build from the inside out like the Lions did with Penei Sewell and like Ragnow. Then, you know, getting Gibbs and Montgomery and Amon-Ra, you know, but they did O-line first and then, you know, sprinkled in the offensive pieces. And, you know, because again, if the Detroit Lions offensive line wasn't beast mode, do you really think Montgomery and Gibbs and Amon-Ra and Goff would be as good as they are today? Fuck no, they wouldn't. They would still be a good team, but they would be more like a 10-7 team. You know, and they wouldn't be scoring as many touchdowns. They would be scoring, you know, in the 20s and 30s, not the 40s and the 50s. So I think that's, you know, very clear. Like Ragnow and Penei Sewell have been fantastic. They got a lot of good offensive linemen on that Lions squad. Now they just need the defense to catch up. But you got to think, though, Captain. I mean, you guys got an 8-5 record, and that's better than most people thought in year one for McDonald. I still thought you guys were going to win 10, 11 games, you know, but again, you're nowhere near being, you know, where you need to be. When you guys are where you need to be, you're going to have a 13 or 14 win season. That's when you know when you're 13-4, 12-5, 14-3. That's when you're going to be good enough to make the deep, deep run, you know, but still got a lot of holes to fill. That's why it's so important to watch film and to evaluate each position group. You not just watch the quarterback, watch the defense, watch the DNs, watch the D tackles, watch your linebackers, watch your secondary, watch your O-line, and see if they actually are good or not, and if any of them are worth keeping. Lots of things to be able to focus on. I mean, obviously, besides, Geno on his fucking back, and then obviously the running backs and the receivers not being able to get enough yards, and then Geno getting hurt, but hopefully it's not serious, and, you got to be able to kind of throw the tape away. Watch the tape, throw it away, and then move on to next week. But again, next week is Minnesota, and it could be just as bad. Yeah, but also, too, just like a subtle observation, if I'm Seattle, I'm never wearing these uniforms ever again. I'm taking these uniforms out of the rotation for home or on the road. I don't think it has a good vibe at all. It's bright, but it doesn't scream swagger like the old school vibe throwbacks. And again, if you just have a bright uniform, but you don't feel swaggy in it, you're not going to play the best. And I think that, honestly, if you wore these, and I'm going to say it again, you wouldn't be at a 23-6 score just based off the unis alone. And I know some people might think that's crazy, but anyone that's ever played sports, you look good, you feel good, you play good, and the superstars are going to play good no matter what uniform they're wearing. But for the other guys, the uniform is something. There's a different type of energy in the crowd with those jerseys being worn also. The vibe is different. You think of the glory days in the 80s and 90s. You feel like a starter jacket just walking into the fucking stadium. It's a different type of swagger. And anyone that's got any type of fucking swagger in their life, they'll tell you, there is a certain type of fashion sense that you have. And again, the clothes can make the man or the woman, but again, once you got the clothes on, it's up to you to be able to take your game to that next level psychologically. And I wouldn't be wearing these uniforms ever again. See, now you're just upset because it's happening right now, right? But with McDonald, he inherited Pete's team. So you got to understand, it's year number one of, you can't fire everybody and then get new players that are only yours in year number one. It's going to take a couple years to cycle through Pete's old pieces to decide if you want to keep like a DK or move on, and then to get better offensive linemen and better defensive players. And you've already seen an upgrade in the defense, and you have a better record. Like right now, if you guys were 5-8, right, it would hurt, right? But again, it would be expected, right? So for you to have an 8-5 record, this is a few more wins than you were expecting at this point in the season. You could still finish, with a 10-7 record, or like an 11-6 record, and that's what you were going to get. You were never going to be 12-5 or better, So sometimes when you get your ass kicked like this, it hurts. But it's year one for McDonald. He was the right one. And let's be honest, there's a lot of Baltimore fans that were wanting to fire fucking John Harbaugh for McDonald. That's what they wanted. They wanted Harbaugh to go so that McDonald wouldn't be Seattle's coach. So if that's being said by some Baltimore fans, that shows you how much they think of McDonald. So, don't worry about this year. That's not McDonald's fault. It's not his fault that the O-line stinks. He made the defense better, being a good defensive coordinator in year one. But again, the linebacking core needs to be improved. The D-line has gotten much better, as well as the secondary, and that's why you've been able to get to an 8-5 record. But when you're playing an elite team, right, and that has a good quarterback, even if your D-line and secondary have been better than last year, you're gonna get fucking exposed, by the goods, right? By the Jalen Hurts, the certain quarterbacks you're going to get exposed by. And it's always good to have that show on tape now, so that way that when you go into the draft and free agency, you know what you need to get. It's got to go. Just like Seattle Mariners, right? Where we wear certain uniforms where we play better than others, But it's like we have a certain type of swagger wearing certain uniforms, even on the Mariners side compared, to, the regulars, or if we end up doing like a City Connect or something different. Like there's just a different type of vibe. And again, it's kind of like an alternate throwback type of look. But other than, incomplete, other than being bright, it just doesn't really hit you with the swagger. Like if you did, like this is just me, right? If you did this uniform of all highlighter green top and bottom, right? You needed to be able to have a chrome helmet like the Ducks, right? And it has to have that look, and if you have that like Rose Bowl chrome, look, all chrome and it's reflective, and you have that as the helmet, then maybe these uniforms will get a pass because then it stands out. But with the standard helmet and the unis, it just doesn't do it. Pass incomplete. Tell me I'm wrong. But if you give that like chrome Ducks helmet and then with these unis, it at least makes the look a little better. Because right now the helmet doesn't do it with these jerseys. It's like it matches, but it's just kind of like a normal uniform. It seems like just a normal standard home blue, white away. It doesn't give you like swaggy feels like this does, right? This one, it doesn't look ugly, but it just looks normal. It's just a normal looking, it's not bad. It's just normal looking, a standard NFL uni. But then you put this on and you turn into fucking Superman. Tell me I'm wrong. Because as fans, we feel a different type of energy and vibe, right? Can you imagine the helmet and the jersey and the pants for the players? I mean, you can play football with this on. You can play football with this on, right? But you're going to get the best results not wearing this. That's the worst. You got to be wearing this. And if I'm in charge, I wear that uniform moving forward. That's the new standard uniform at home, And again, if you ended up doing that, you would see how many more wins they would get at home by that particular jersey alone. There's a psychology to it, man. Look good, feel good, play good. I mean, trust Deion Sanders. I mean, hell, he got Travis Hunter the fucking Heisman with Lil Wayne. You got Deion on your side. Whatever he says must go. Look good, feel good, play good. I mean, Travis Hunter got the Heisman over Genty, so there you go.
You don't see this Patrick Mahomes is saying goodbye. People was tricked. He was actually saying goodbye to his old phone.
And Gino has actually been better than people want to give him credit for, and when he ends up doing something great, right, they don't give him the praise for it. But then as soon as they lose, fire McDonald, fire Gino. It's like, hey, how about figure out the goddamn offensive line? Because, I've never seen any team in the NFL with a horrible bottom 5 offensive line, let alone with a winning record like you guys. But again, you guys are going to win some. You guys are going to get embarrassed and lose some. You're going to lose to teams that you shouldn't lose to, like the Giants, but also you're going to win against teams that you have no business beating. So you have to be able to understand that this is a work in fucking progress, but at least you got the right head coach, there to rebuild the fucking team, to hopefully get it back to, early Pete years where you guys had the Legion of Boom and you had Marshawn, right? But since Legion of Boom and Marshawn have moved on, you guys haven't been the same, and you're never going to be able to recreate that with that type of talent in the secondary or at running back. But again, you can do other things to get close, to kind of close the gap, like having a top 10 offensive line and having a top 10 defense. That'll definitely help. Britt in the building. I missed you. Love you. Miss you. Happy holidays. Hopefully the shirts fit well. And then we got NASCAR in a couple months. And then, obviously once we get into that, after football is over, we're going to be getting into baseball in April, right? But during February and March, that's when NASCAR starts up, I believe, correct, Brett? And if we end up having it in February and March, maybe I'll do some races. I mean, I've been itching to watch a race. I mean, after it ended already. Sunday Night Football, Buccaneers and Cowboys. We're about to beat some cowboy ass, baby. Megan in the building. What's good? Yeah, we got to get rid of these uniforms. I mean, again, if you had like a chrome helmet with it, it would have been better. But I feel like it's just bright, but I don't feel like they feel like a Superman with them on. And that's the whole idea. If you're going to do a uniform like that, you have to have the swagger and the feel that you're wearing something like this, the pride, and it's stylish, and you're going to play better with it on. The standard look is fine. But again, it's like if you're going to wear an alternate color, there has to be a reason why. And I think that they should ban these jerseys here on out. This should be the last game that you ever see these helmets and jerseys and pants together. I just think that you would be better off. There we go. There we go. Nice turnover by the Hawks. Go, baby, go. Yeah. There we go. But that's just my opinion. Just like with the Mariners and with baseball and basketball and football and hockey, we're not going to be fans of all the alternate and throwback jerseys. But again, if you ever have a throwback from the 80s and 90s, trust you me, that's going to be better than any of this bullshit that you see here in this generation. In the 2020 generation where it's social media based. A lot of these jerseys cannot even compare to a simplistic color and look and combination of what you get with print, font, color, and look of the 80s and 90s, especially NFL jerseys. I mean, there is no NFL jersey that's made now that can compare to the old school look of like the Hawks or like the Eagles or the Bucks and that Houston Oilers or the Pats, with the guy on the side. I mean, there's just certain looks that are never going to be able to be, matched ever again. And that's why they're going to be some of the top 5 jerseys of all time forever. Shotgun set. Howell. Protect for his ass. There we go. Good protection. And again, lo and behold, he actually has more than a second to throw. Gino or Sam, they can complete the ball. But again, if you got a half second to be able to make a read, you're done. And offensive line. And again, linebacking core needs to be improved as well. Secondary improved, D-line improved. You can still add pieces there, but linebacking crew down the road, needs to be upgraded. But offensive line is the number one. I mean, I hate seeing teams get exposed like this, but, I feel like the coaching staff is smart enough to be like, fuck, we're getting fucked up on this. Like, even if that means that if they have to choose between DK and a cheaper receiver and focusing on the offensive line for money, that would be the correct way to go. Instead of overpaying for DK, ignoring the O-line, and then continuing to have the same problems every year. I don't think that's going to make Hawk fans happy. I mean, some of them will be happy that DK is still there, but if the offensive line doesn't get addressed, people are going to lose their goddamn minds. You don't want to waste what you have, especially with the Niners hitting the wall, right? This is a time now where like Seattle or the Rams could take over this division. We know the Niners, their window of 4 to 5 years has come to an end or is slowly coming to an end, depending on what happens next year. Now, if the Niners get first place, then they got one more year. But if they don't, this is maybe the last year of being at the top. And obviously they couldn't do it this year with the injuries. There we go. Charbonnet, 24 yards, touchdown, Hawks. Let's go. There we go. There we go. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Charbonnet for some Chardonnay. Finally. Finally, a tutty. I mean, how many tutties would we have if we were wearing these jerseys every home game? A lot more. Nice job, Sharbs. There we go, baby. And if you give Sharbs enough touches, he can mirror a Kenneth Walker III performance. He's already done it a couple times this season if you just fucking pay attention. Sharbs is a guy that can get 100 yards and score once or twice. That's not too much for him. He actually is, as far as like RB2s are considered in the league, he's top 5, maybe top 3. Like, he's that good. You could argue one of the best, RB2s or second options in the league. Like, we got Rachaad White and obviously who? Rachaad White and who? Bucky Irving from the Ducks. That's one of the better RB2s that could be RB1. You got the best one would probably be Gibbs and Montgomery. But Sharbs, to me, is right there. Montgomery might be a little bit better and, maybe Bucky Irving, but I would put Sharbs up there, probably the 3rd, 4th, or 5th, option overall. And you got like Najee and Jalen Warren and, but I would take Sharbs over Jalen Warren. So, if you look at some of the other starters and backups, I mean, you're going to have some, but I like what I see from Sharbs so far. Just get him the ball more, but hard to be able to get offensive positive yardage when the O-line is bottom 5. Got to improve. But at least now the game is more exciting than what it was. I hate seeing teams get beat up and then get beat up at home, but we'll see. 23-13, better score now. You like the logo better now, but also you're younger though. You're not in the generation that appreciated that logo. If you were my age, then I think you would think differently, but I'm, a little bit older than you. But you only got to see that logo when like Brady wore like the red alternates for the Pats, which were super dope. And they ended up having some pretty, epic games, with those. But that's really your only experience with that old school logo. For the people that are 40 and older, they remember when this was like, 85 Pats, going against the Bears and losing the Super Bowl, and obviously, going through some of the other players before they ended up being Belichick, Brady, Gronk and whatnot. But I feel that if you were a little bit older, I think the appreciation for the logo would be a little bit higher because it actually is one of the top 5 throwback logos. It's pretty fire. But, but for your age, it's true though. It's true.
It really was. He had a good career. Tennessee, and then traded.
All right, Packers, your turn. I mean, this is a modern day version of the swag. Obviously, the swag was a little bit more with the Brady era. And then obviously it's a different type of swag in the 80s and the 90s. But I don't know. Looks pretty swaggy to me. But we all have a different type of fashion sense, and we all have a different type of love, for different types of colors and combinations and logos. But if you look good, you feel good, you play good. 23-13, Packers. When is the first race, Brett? February what? Handoff up the middle, Josh Jacobs. Four-yard gain. Second down and 6 at the Green Bay 38. Shotgun set. Play action fake. Love. Oh, there. Good deflection, baby. There you go. The Clash is a second. Okay. I know. You'll remind me as we get closer to the date. But the only problem with NASCAR streams is that if there's like a delay or rain, sometimes you'll be like doing a stream for like 5 to fucking 8 hours. That's like a long time, where you're like almost burnt out by it. Is the race going to start? Is the rain going to stop? And then they start again, and then they delay it again, and then there's all these cautions. So, but I do miss it though. Third down and 6. Jordan Love passing complete, short middle to Christian Watson. Fourth down and 6 on the Green Bay 38. And do you hear that? That's Uncle Mo. That's the 12s. And they needed to be this loud from the very start, but when you get down 14-0 and you're getting your ass kicked and the offensive line isn't doing their job, it's hard to get excited when you're in the crowd, even if you're drunk, right? But now, right, defense started to wake up. Everyone's getting a little bit more tired, right? You finally got a touchdown by Sharps, right? Now the defense is imposing their will. Uncle Mo has went from one sideline to Green Bay to the other. No more cheese, okay? Maybe some Starbucks coffee. And now we're in business. You get a field goal or a touchdown here, you actually have a chance to maybe take this game to overtime. Like there actually could be a possibility here. But you have to score on this drive. 3 minimum. There we go. Break it, break it, break it. Hit him with the skirt. Okay. The Clash. Second. Okay. Daytona. Okay. Ooh, snow. Have they? I don't know. Would they allow like snow for the cars to go? Like we've seen like minimal rain and whatnot, but like if snow started coming down, I would assume that's too much of a risk for the drivers and whatnot. But that would be really cool. Like if they actually had the proper tires on the NASCAR vehicles where they could kind of do an off-road race or even like a track race with like off-road tires like in Subarus. I'd watch that shit. Check down, almost intercepted. Incomplete. Yeah, not a chance. But I can always dream, though. Anything can happen. You never know. I appreciate you, too. Man, don't worry, man. Stacks on stacks, man. Racks on racks. Little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. I'm always going to keep it 100. No matter if things are going good, bad, or ugly. And you got to respect that. I'm never going to take an attack on a particular team or player if they don't deserve it. Like I'm not going to just go out there and just try to start an argument or to poke the bear, because a lot of times when people hear sports talk or wrestling talk, they take it personal, based on the wrestlers or the players or the drivers or the teams that we talk about. Some people make it like personal. If it's like they try to, poke the bear and talk shit, but I'm never going to do that. I'm always just going to tell you how it is, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. My team, your team, any team. But again, momentum is a motherfucker, right? Things were looking bad. Like you guys were going to lose like fucking 40-6, right? But at some point, if you got some players out there, they're going to make a play. And now they got a challenge here, huh? What are they trying to say? That's a fumble? Green Bay's trying to get the freebie here, huh? All right, what do you want to do for photos? What you got? What you got? What you want? Brother. I don't know, man. You wear these uniforms every home game, the rest of Seattle's lifetime, the winning percentage would be higher if you wore these every home game. I mean, this is a top 3 throwback ever, regardless if you're a Seattle fan or not. There's not very many that are going to be better than this. The shade of blue, just the subtle green, and then the helmet and the silver, undefeated. But you let me know what you want, brother. 23-13, you get a touchdown here, and then another stop, get a field goal. Then we're talking business. Then maybe you can wear the greens once every couple seasons. But as of right now, you might have to give those the boot. Yeah. But it would be cool, like even if they just did like a road race and then they, snow was coming down and they had the proper tires for just that one race, if the snow was there. I don't know. I'm just a fan of snow. It'd be cool to see them kind of zip around. I mean, it would be must-see TV. Getting all the drivers, whipping around with snow tires and whatnot on an off-road track. I can dream. I got you. For me, I don't really give a fuck who we play. We don't have a defense. So it's like I appreciate Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans. I wish we had Godwin. We got Bucky, who's awesome, a perfect fit for this team. We went from worst rushing team in the NFL to top 5, so it's like we've changed it, and getting Graham Barton over Jackson Powers-Johnson was very smart because Graham Barton is much better, even though Jackson Powers-Johnson was great for the Ducks, not on the same level as Graham Barton, and offensive line means something, but I don't really think that we can beat anybody. Like we might be able to make the playoffs, but I don't know if we can beat anyone, but hopefully we just don't get embarrassed if we go. But I'll get you some more. JSN. How? Incomplete. Noah Fant. Got to go to someone better than Fant. And I was, wanting either one, But the decision for going Barton, initially was because he plays center, guard, and tackle. And with all our problems on the offensive line, that's kind of a cool feature to have. And to be that good, at center with Jackson Powers, who really only plays center. So, and Jackson Powers Johnson has struggled with the Raiders, with timing, with some of the other players and the coaching. I don't think that he's a bust, but he's not on the same level as Grant Barton. Noah Fant with another catch with the lime green highlighter jerseys. Flag on the play. He said, I need some more of this.
Likely to go for it here, but you would have to give them another down.
Flag on the play. Swag.
The right ball there, right? See all the way up at the top of your screen there.
Yeah, you're correct. They'd be like, what are they proposing? A snow race? I think they would be fucking really highly rated though, because then you would like get people that do like dirt bike racing and F1 fans, and anything that's like out of the norm, and they would be like, ooh, look at NASCAR, they're doing some fucking snow shit. Like I think it would grab the attention of that crowd too. Like I think it would be almost like a must-see TV event, almost like how WWE main event was this Saturday. I got fucking 80s vibes and 90s vibes all over again. It was awesome. Shout out to WWE. I love it. I loved it when I was a little kid, and I'll love it till I die. I will never stop watching. Fourth down and 5. Yeah, well, those F1s go way too fast to do snow. It's like we wouldn't want anyone to die after the first lap. It's like, what do you want a guy to go in snow with that type of car and flip like 40 times? Oh my. They muffed it. It was a muff job. Sir Muffs a lot. It's the first of the muff. Damn, he's lucky. That could have been the play that changed the whole fucking game, because you would have scored a touchdown right there, like probably on the first play. That's what you do off a turnover like that. The first play that you get the ball off a turnover and you're at the 20 or the 18 or the 15, boom. You go to the end zone and you get a touchdown usually like 80% of the time. Shotgun set. Play action fake. I got a little antsy there cluing. First down, Packers. Dontavian Wicks, move the trains. WWE main event. A little check down by Jordan Love. Got to put Jordan Love down on his back. You give Jordan Love too much time, I mean, he can put up numbers as good as anybody in the NFL if you give him time. I mean, hell, they got a lot of athletic receivers and tight ends. I mean, if you actually are looking at all of their players, like who's got a more athletic running back, wide receiver, and tight end room than Green Bay? Like player for player, like even their no-name tight ends end up being someone that we remember. I've never seen a group like that before. Like, who the hell is Dontavian Wicks? Well, if he wasn't on the Packers, I wouldn't fucking know. And Jaden Reed was a nobody behind Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs and ended up being better than them, even though he apparently likes to get zeros once in a while. Idiots. But they got the athletes. It's always been their offensive line, defense, or special teams that's been the bugaboo. Typically, defense and special teams. Well, at least that's what Aaron Rodgers was blaming. Yeah, she almost did break her face, though. Live. Little flip. Down the sideline. Look at the speed. First down, Packers. Yeah, Liv is great as champ. for someone that had to work really hard to be able to get the opportunity and have to have all the other females that were ahead of her in the pecking order. And then, you just got to kind of wait your turn. And then eventually, at that point, if you've worked up your mic skills and your in-ring skills, if you look at Liv on how she was early in her career and to where she's at now, it's been a big transformation. And then once you get gold, then you get a little bit more swagger. Your shit-talking ability gets better. Your attitude and aura get higher. Just like with Roman Reigns, when he became the tribal chief, took his career to another level. The Usos, yeet, yeet, yeet. You feel me? Sami Zayn, 23-13. Like, Sami was always going to be Sami, but just the fact that he got into the bloodline story took Sami into, like, superstardom. I think that was the coolest thing that we've seen in wrestling in probably 20 years. You had someone that never would have been relevant in storylines, but they made, because he's funny and he's a good wrestler, right? He's perfect to be like that side guy, to make you laugh in their little segments. He made those guys break character more than any other person I've seen in the last 20, 25 years. Sami Zayn, underrated. Love him. 2nd down and 6. Hand off to Jacobs. Almost got a first down. 3rd down and 2 on the Seattle 39. Seattle needs a turnover like a motherfucker. Agreed. She's more than beautiful and blonde. She got some skills on the mic and in the ring. And I feel that, she could still improve. Like, she can get better on the mic. Like, wrestling, her technique has been much, much better, but you can always get better on that end of the ring too, like high-flying moves off the top rope and adding a few more moves to the repertoire. And then obviously working on the shit-talking ability and believing what you're saying. It's one thing to shit-talk, but like to shit-talk and like believe it. Like you become like, Ric Flair become that particular person, that persona. Ric Flair actually turned into Ric Flair, That's when you know. 23-13, Green Bay. Yeah, that was dumb. Sami and Daniel Bryan, that's a good comparison. Underdog, great on the mic, great in the ring, never really fully appreciated. Fans love both. Have always had a great following for both. And I think that would probably be the best comparison that I could probably put with Sami and what his impact was and what Bryan Danielson and Daniel Bryan and his legacy meant. That's a good one. Good comparison. 3rd down and 2. Shotgun set for Love. Seattle bringing blitz. Love. Receiver falls down. Corner falls down. 4th down and 2 on the Seattle 39. Yeah, and also too, it's not only Liv's success, but it's Dirty Dom, and having that, because like that went from someone that, was a baby face that didn't really have the right look, was just, someone's, dad, and then actually, you could see like slowly it progressing, okay, dying, grow your hair out, you got the mustache, have the Eddie Guerrero look, have the Eddie Guerrero swagger, and they're already booing you. So even when you talk, they boo even more. Like, be the number one heel, but then it gets to the point where now it's like NWO, where Dom is cool as like the bad guy. Big stop by Seattle. That's when you know that like you got booed before because they didn't like you, but then now you're getting booed is because like you're the heel, and you're doing your job the right way. And when you end up being a heel, you be the best version of yourself. That's the version you're always going to remember the most of a wrestler. When they're a face or they're a heel, the coolest moments that they'll ever have and the ones that you're going to remember forever are the heel moments. Like, I can remember Hulk Hogan, but Hollywood Hogan for life, brother. Oh, yeah. NWO transcends Hulkamania, and not many things can transcend Hulkamania, but it's always about the heels, baby. 23-13, Green Bay. All right, Seattle. Now you got to get at least a field goal on this drive, but preferably a tutty. And if you can get that and within, 3 minutes, that's, not a lot of time, but enough. And then you have another 2 minutes to either for a stop. You got 3 timeouts. So you got 5:50. You got to score by 2 minutes, a minute 50, 2 minutes, and then you got your 3 timeouts, and then you got to get a 3 and out, and then you got to use your timeouts, and then you have one last chance to get a field goal to tie to go to OT. That's how you do it. You feel me? Oh, yeah. Stone Cold was face and heel, but also Rock was like face and heel. It just kind of depended on if they were going against each other and how Vince McMahon was involved, because obviously Vince was the heel. So it's either you're working with Vince, you're working against Vince, you have the rivalry with Vince, and then, you have Vince and Rock, and everyone had their kind of moments and whatnot. From Rocky Maivia to the Nation of Domination, and then to the Rocky, when things were the best that wrestling ever was. Rock and Stone Cold, DX, and NWO. Yeah. Smart. Ooh. So someone my age can be smart. Lamau. True. Sam Howell, quote unquote, sold out. I love wrestling. First down and 10 for Sam Howell. Can you be a hero? Score within 3 minutes, and then we're talking. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. That's not what you do. Come on, offensive line. This is embarrassing. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. Haven't smashed that like button yet. Please do. Help your boy out. Shotgun set. Howell. Intercepted. Uh-oh. And the game is over. OVA, not OVO like Drake. Watch out. Hide your sister. 23-13 Packers. Damn. We at 20, 80 to go. Edgerrin Cooper with the interception. Hell yeah, she's coming back. She hungry. You can't be fucking married to Seth fucking Rollins and have a baby girl and not want to continue the legacy for the girl and the boy. Don't they have 2 kids now? Boy and girl? Something like that? Seth Rollins is my boy. But yeah, she'll be back. 2025, 100%. I don't know what type of role she's going to be in. I don't know if they're going to hand her gold right away or if she's going to have to earn it or she's just in a different type of storyline, but we'll see what happens. We'll ever get to the point where she's Becky Two Belts again. I always thought she was a huge underdog, but it never surprised me when she ended up, being at the top. Sometimes a little awkward wrestling-wise, a little, not really as smooth as some of the other female wrestlers. Some kind of little herky-jerky with some of her movements and whatnot. Not maybe being the most athletic, but she definitely made up for it on her mic skills. Like, some people are really awesome on the mic, no matter what they talk about, and others, it's a work in progress. Not every female or male is created equal on the microphone, as we know. You have to be a fucking GOAT and to be elite on the mic, and she's got that going for her. She can transition from moving forward from the man. She can evolve into whatever her next vibe is and whatever her next rivalry is. Look at those NFC West remaining schedules. Minnesota, Chicago, Rams. Damn, Seattle. And then the Rams got the Jets, Arizona, and Seattle. it's looking like the Rams are going to make the playoffs and Seattle's going to miss the playoffs. Fuck. Just an observation. Obviously Seattle could, but man, you got to beat fucking Minnesota and you got to beat the Rams at the end. If you get in, you're really going to have to earn it, and that O-line got to fucking play better. Otherwise, the Rams are going to get in and Seattle is just going to barely miss. And they could barely miss with a 10-7 record. That stinks when you get to 10-7 and you miss the playoffs. Because it's like you feel like you're deserving. Charlotte Flair. We're at 20 doll hairs. 23-13. Packers. Yeah, Rams are like, shit, man. We have our problems too with no Aaron Donald and issues on defense. Offensive line beat up. But Stafford and Kyron and Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. But offensive line is better than Seattle's, and defense at times plays better than Seattle, not all the time. Shotgun set. 3rd down and 5. Love going deep. Romeo Dobbs, are you kidding me? I need to see a replay before I get too excited about that one, but did that really just happen? I'm not sure if he actually caught that, though. Did he catch that? I mean, they just put the graphic up touchdown so fast. Wow. Okay, well, they had the angle before the fans did on the TV broadcast because that was one of the best catches I've seen in 2024. Romeo and Juliet Dobbs, I see you with the tutty. Damn, nailing the coffin to Seattle. That stinks for Seattle fans. But what a hell of a fucking throw, and what a better catch by Romeo and Juliet Dobbs. I see you. We be Dobbins. My God. Dobbs in, Dobbs out, Dobbs out, Dobbs route, Tutty, Romeo. Wow. Wowee. And literally, if that football was just like a split second, in a different direction, that definitely is not complete. And, maybe Seattle has a better, grasp on that with Witherspoon right there. Romeo Dobbs, he's like, look at me. I'm wearing the protective helmet, the shield to protect my brain so I don't turn into fly like a butterfly, sting like AB. Antonio Brown. Got to protect your head from the CTE. And you can still get tutties with it on. Nice job, Romeo. Wow. And I think if you're a Seattle fan, really the only thing I can say is year one with no offensive line, inheriting a new team, fixing the defense a little bit, but not where it needs to be fully. And you might end up with a 10-7 record the first year, not 7-10. If you're a Seattle fan, remember that, because it could very easily have gone 7-10, and so to have it possibly end with a 10-7 record, I think would be, and you miss the playoffs, it hurts, it stinks. But as far as year number one, it's probably the best case scenario that you could have had besides making the playoffs. Like, you almost got there, but if you end up fixing the O-line, to a certain degree, fixing the defense and the linebacking core, figuring out what the tight end situation is, then maybe the next year you can get to 11 or 12. I mean, we can't fully judge how great or good or average the term is until we get McDonald for like 4 years. Once we get 4 years, if we get 4 years, if they don't pull the trigger and fire him prior to that, which I don't think they will. I think that his resume in Baltimore will give him at least 4 years, and then they'll go from there, because I think it would be foolish to fire him after a year or two.
Just because the other teams are going to be sitting there.
2nd and 7. Where's Jake Bobo when you need him? Flag on the play.
When you look at them across the board, the only one on offense, I would say, they lost Josh Jacobs. That might be a little tough for them to overcome. But they have so many receivers. They're going to have so many tight ends. George Love, and don't forget Malik Willis came in here weeks 2 and 3 and won games as the backup quarterback. So a very deep roster as well.
Penalty flag down. We played for Super Bowl 50. All week.
Illegal formation. Fuck, the Blazers lost. Shit. Figured they would, but I was praying that they would play a little bit better against the Suns. They lost by 7. Cooper flag to the Blazers, baby. I gotta look at the box score. Look at my dudes. Klingon, 10 and 9. Okay. Simons with 20. Sharp with only 12, though. We need Sharp at like 20 or more. 3rd down and 7. Howell. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is? You get sack lunched. Yum, 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 yum. And it doesn't matter if it's Sam Howell, Geno Smith, Matt Hasselbeck, Dave Craig, Jim Zorn, or any one of those quarterbacks from the past. Gosh, can we get some protection, please? It's probably the most disheartening thing that you can watch in the NFL is if you have a bottom 5 offensive line and that type of shit happens on a regular basis. It's probably the worst thing that you could possibly have on a team, honestly. The defense not being able to stop a nosebleed like Cincinnati, that fucking stinks too. But the O-line that does this and makes your offense and your quarterback look like this, and most people are offensive-minded fans, they can't handle this. They can't handle it. Fix it. Yeah. And I watched the Spurs games with Klingon's first game back from the injury. We're beating your ass. We're beating your ass. We're beating your ass. Wemby's doing great. We're beating your ass. And then 4th quarter, what do the Spurs do? They go on like a 20-4 run, and then the Blazers lose. It's like finally a game I thought we were going to win. And then, Wemby goes off. Sochan, he's got the green hair like Rodman. Everyone's going off, going crazy. Cray. Spurs are fun to watch, man. And then there was a little kid in the front row at Moda wearing the Wemby mini jersey. He fucking takes the jersey off and gives it to the little kid. That little kid is going to worship Wemby for the goddamn rest of his life. I can only imagine being a little kid and having a guy like Wemby would have been like a Shaq. Me growing up, 7 to 10 years old, like, oh my God, Shaq. When Shaq came out when I was 10, it was a big deal. Wemby? Getting a Wemby fucking jersey? Are you shitting me? Shoes would have been fucking insane. Jersey is literally the best. I think I would rather have the jersey than the shoes. Because the shoes might stink, but they would be cool, right? And then you could put them in a glass container. But I think I would rather have a game-worn jersey of Wemby than the shoes. Shoes would be great, but give me the jersey first. That little kid, I got a little jelly. I was like, God damn. And then the mom tried taking the Wemby jersey away, and he fucking, He's like, no. He's like, this is mine, mama. Like mom was about to throw that bitch on eBay. Nope. That little kid, he's like, Gaga! Got that fucking little man grip, little baby grip. Love, handoff. They're chirping. Yeah, I don't like the NBA. It stinks now. It's the worst out of all the sports. But I think the Spurs are one of the very few teams outside the Blazers that if Wemby was on, he's must-see TV to me. So I can watch him and enjoy it because he's a phenom. So, like Cooper flag for Duke. I'm not going to watch a lot of college hoops unless it's like Kansas, Duke, or one of the top-tier teams. But when there's a potential first pick in the draft phenom, I'm fucking watching. He got you a shitload of points. I think the game's over pretty much, and so I think you're good. You know, you're winning by a bunch. Packers. No injury designation, 21.6. I know you wanted more. But you just got to pray that DJ Moore gets you more than 5 points. He can't shit the bed. So DJ Moore, if he has a good game, Elliott goes to the championship. If DJ Moore shits the bed and gets like 0 to 4 points, then and if Jacobs and Kraft don't get any more here tonight, then we'll have a Reflect Zini championship. Otherwise, we'll have a double E. You know, it's like the fantasy gods are making you earn it against Reflect. Like, he had a bad week. He made bad decisions, and he's paying the price for it. And you had Lamar, but now you have to get it now. You don't want it to be up to DJ Moore, and he ends up putting up a 0 to 4, and you miss the playoffs after Lamar giving you a Billy. Floater. And complete. Give it to Jacobs. I don't even think he's in the game anymore, though. He's like, my points, he says. I need my points. And now it's 4th and 2. Uh-oh. So now you need DJ Moore points. And that's always a risky thing, because most of the time when a guy like that's averaging 10 to 15, you're like, oh, he won automatically. But Elliott knows that there has been games where he hasn't really done very well. And it is possible. Hell, if I have Cooper Kupp and I can get a fucking 0 with Cooper Kupp, you fuckers, if I can have that happen to me, DJ Moore definitely could hit a 0 too. I'm not saying that he will, you know, but that's always going to be a little risque. Like, you should win, but you just got to hope that he doesn't have that bad game. But realistically, against the Vikings, right, that defense is really good. But if anyone were to, you know, get 10 points in fantasy, it's definitely him. It's him over Rome and a few of the others. So, you know, DJ Moore could end up going for 20 to 30. You know, and the Bears getting their ass kicked, but he plays well. You feel me? He's like, fuck. Handoff. Ooh. They got the backup in there. Oh, Seattle. I wish you did better. 30 to 13. That's when you know, and it sucks because it's like, okay, the Niners, they're fucking hurt and you're finally better than them. But then, lo and behold, here's the Rams team that's like right there with you. And, it's going to be pretty fucking difficult. Not impossible, but one or two things is going to happen. Either Seattle is going to finish the year 10-7. They're going to win a couple more games, but they're going to miss the playoffs, and the Rams are, going to have one more win than them, or they end up winning the last three, including Minnesota and the last game against the Rams. They take the Rams spot and they end up winning 11, and and then they hope to keep that momentum going even after a rough loss here against Green Bay. But offensive line, Geno, hope you're okay. Lockett, hope you're okay. And Minnesota, fuck, that's not the team that you want to be playing next week. If anything, you want to play, as bad as it gets. Rebound. Like a Jacksonville Jags. That's who you want to play, but no time to think about anything else besides Minnesota. He said, God damn it. You see, that's why you needed to work the wire more. I got Mark Andrews and Jonnu Smith, who are top 10 tight ends after drafting Sam Laporta. You got to work the wire, son. And if you ended up having options, maybe you would have had Jonnu Smith and then it's already over. Right? How do I go from Sam Laporta dropping him and getting Jonnu Smith and Mark Andrews? That means I'm hitting the wire, baby. Final score, Packers 30, Hawks 13. Paisley in the room because she misses daddy. You want to say hi, Paisley? Say hi. Oh. It's big muscles. It's powers. Get the job done. Ford F-Series is the best in America. And Smart is a big reason why. At Landmark Ford, we sell. She says, Hi. And then she says, I'm hungry, Dad. Bye. Yeah, but we'll see what happens. Hawk fans, keep your head up. Again, remember, your record, 8-5 going into this game. You could be 5-8. The season could have been, possibly like a 7-10 season, where some fans, worst case scenario, were thinking that could happen. So it's still possible to make it. It's still possible to go 11-6, even though you're going to have to beat Minnesota and beat the Rams, which doesn't really seem likely, but it's possible, right? And then, you could win 2 out of 3 and miss it, and go 10-7. But as far as, year one, sometimes you got to, building blocks. Sometimes you got to understand, if the offensive line doesn't exist and you have a bottom 5 offensive line, it's hard to win against teams that actually have, an offensive line and a defense that, is playing a little bit better. So, it is what it is. I feel bad for you guys, but I think, I got to tell you it real because, you don't want it to be sugar-coated like, oh, it's over and you're a hater, or, oh, no problem. There is a problem. You got Minnesota and the Rams 2 out of 3. That is fucking not ideal. But, the Vikings won, you lose that. I don't think anyone would be that surprised, but if you win it, it could gain you confidence. And if you win against Minnesota, you might be able to win against the Rams because everything would be on the line in that game. And it would be like, okay, do or die. But it's like, you got to win this Minnesota one first, and you got to rebound from the stinging loss. So I think that we've also determined that we're never going to wear these jerseys ever again. Record isn't very good in them. They're bright, but they don't give you the same swagger feel as this. You wore this, maybe you would have lost, but you wouldn't have lost 30-13. Okay. And hopefully they can get back on track. Tough, man. So Reflect still can make the championship if DJ Moore gets a 0 to a 4. So that is possible. 0 to 4. But it's also possible for DJ Moore to hit 34. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night. I am going to be doing the Vikings and the Bears. Excited to see Caleb. Excited to see Jetta and company, as well as Addison and Hawkinson, and see what Sam Darnold can do. 30 minutes after that, the Raiders are going against the Falcons. Now, if Michael Penix Jr. was starting, I would do that game instead, believe it or not, over Vikings. But, I'm pretty sure Kirk Cousins is going to be out there. He might stink it up. He might win. We'll see. But we'll cover both games at the same damn time. I love you guys, and I appreciate you guys very, very much. Anything that you guys, Seattle's O-line, yeah. I mean, even when you have starters, if you're finishing in the bottom 5 in the statistics, and it's rough. Like when I watch Seattle and have a game like this, it reminds me of Joey Harrington being on Oregon and being a Heisman finalist in the late 90s, early 2000s, being a top 3 pick for the Lions and being sack lunched like a motherfucker, like over and over and over, where it literally got to the point where Joey Harrington had happy feet and had to retire early because there was just no going back from that. And I want to be able to see a Seahawk team that can protect their quarterback no matter who it is. It's a depressing thing to watch, and I'm not even a Hawk fan. Like, I want you guys to, to be able to firm that up, and I think that hopefully that you will over time. And free Michael Penix Jr. Again, if the Falcons want any shot to be able to beat the Buccaneers for the NFC South crown, you start Penix the rest of the way. And you still probably fail, but at least we get to see Penix, baby. Oh, absolutely. They're going to blame Grubb. They'll blame Geno. They'll blame the defense. But it's clearly, not necessarily the coaches. Defense obviously could be better. But if the offensive line plays like that, even when you play a bad team, you lose. Like that could have been the Bears, and you guys could have lost 16-13. Like, it's got to be better. And it's like the most frustrating thing in football literally is to have a bad O-line. So if you want to be good, have an O-line like Detroit, have an O-line like Philly, and look to see like how they play. I want to have a team like that. I want that to be me. And I know Seattle wants that to be them. Hopefully you're okay, Gino. Prayers up. JSN, you'll get the ball in the future. Hopefully this injury isn't significant. And they got to start wearing these jerseys more often. Sharps. JSN. And again, we got to get Kenneth Walker the third back too. Yes, I unfortunately, we talk it and keep it real. And unfortunately, sad to say, to go from the bottom 5 in offensive line. Yeah, there is you might be 32 of 32. That stinks, man. I guess it can only go up from here, though. Well, I'm going to go eat dinner. I got to take Paisley on a long, long walk. Hawk fans, keep your chin up. Again, you got next, 3 weeks to prove, that you deserve to be in the playoffs. Vikings, right? And then obviously that last one against the Rams. So again, it's not over yet. It's not over till they say it's over. So, you're going to have to earn it just like the Rams, and it's just going to be easier for them. You're going to have to really work hard to get it. And if you do get it, you deserve to be in the playoffs, especially with the problems with the offensive line this year. So I'm rooting for you guys. I love you. I appreciate you. Keep your head up. And again, we'll be live tomorrow for Monday Night Football doubleheader, Falcons and Raiders, but we're not doing that one. We're going to do Vikings and Bears so I can watch Caleb as well as Jay Jetta. And I got one question for you. Who talk sports like us? Your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics. Final score, Packers 30, Seahawks 13, and I'm out. Okay.